everybody this Saturday night to Call to Action Live. I'm so excited to be here with my favorite co-host, Mr. PLD, to talk some potential draftees and also what happened. Something happened last night. I mean, some of us kind of watched it. It was kind of a big deal.
You know, it happens every once in a while. We had the whole free agency special, of course.
Woo! All right, how you doing, Paul?
Fun surprises, a few bigger surprises, and they were pretty fun overall. I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
I'm still on a high a little bit from yesterday. I mean, there was a lot of adrenaline, a lot of screaming, a lot of squealing, a lot of fangirling. So, I'm coming off of that. So I'm doing fine.
I do have to say thank you for making me your favorite co-host. That's two people on this podcast who call me their favorite co-host. I'm moving up in the world. I'm excited about that. But that's not why we're here tonight. Not talking about me. We're talking about 4 special individuals that are potentially going to have big days next week. We're going to find out quickly enough. And then, like we said, we'll talk to them for an hour, and then we will talk about the free agency special after that. I think we just want to get them on, and let's start this bad boy, right?
Yeah, let's get started. I am excited.
All right. You're in charge. We bring it on first. You have 4
I'm
choices.
in charge. All right.
The host. I'm just your secondary right now.
You're the button pusher, though. Okay, anyways. Professional award-winning podcast here. That's how we handle it. All right. Well, first person I will bring on is, we've had her here on Call to Action before. She participated in Schmo Base. She's pretty awesome. I really like talking to her. We have Peggy. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic tonight. I'm happy to be with you guys, and I know how you like to get down. I'm sorry it's not your normal drink of choice, but Alice would be proud. Let's go.
As long as you're making Alice happy, we're happy.
We are an alcohol-friendly podcast, basically. If you have alcohol in it, we're good to go. So we did want White Claw to sponsor.
When in Rome.
They're out now. We're going to go for something else. Absolutely. But it's so good to have you on. I mean, we've seen you everywhere recently in chats and drafts and everything else. It's good to have you on. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I've been nursing a bum knee, so I've been lucky enough to be laid up and being able to check in on what everyone's saying in all these chat rooms and whatnot. So I've been doing a little scouting of the competition, if you will.
A bum knee? How did that happen?
I call it my Kaiser Sose knee. It just kind of craps out on me from time to time. Sometimes I limp, sometimes I don't.
Gotcha.
It just happened to be an especially tough one. There was a lot of fluid in my knee for a while, but we're on the mend. We're almost there.
We're on the mend. You just try to watch movies, and that's
that too.
By the way, I have to say, I know people have mentioned it before. I've seen it, but I love your background. I love your
thank you. The Blockbuster wall is very popular.
I gotta ask you, do you have were they set up in a specific way?
No, I just tried to space out the colored ones with the silver ones because most of them are silver, so I just kind of tried to space it out.
Okay,
so
it was
no rhyme or reason to it whatsoever. Most of my brother's DVDs are towards the top, and then my collection got mixed in with the
bottom part. Very nice, very nice. Well, let's get on everybody else one by one. We're going to introduce Ms. Lloyd, then we'll get ask them all sorts of questions together. So, Kelsey, next on.
All right. Bringing up next is somebody I am very interested to get to talk to and get to know more about. We have Amaru. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing pretty well. It is slightly late out here on the East Coast, but I'm here. I'm ready to talk to all you lovely fine people.
It is good to have you on, my friend. I know you made an impression on some people and backstage and a couple other things. And also, let's get ready. Even though Shug can't pronounce your name, we can pronounce your name, so we'll be good friends here. So
just make sure when you say it, you roll the R. Amaru. That's how you do it the whole way.
I don't know if I can do that.
I get over aggressive. I go Amaru.
There we go.
Can it be too much of an R though? Is there ever too much of the rolling R?
Yeah. You can't keep rolling it. It literally is a one quick Amaru and then you're done.
Yeah, you don't want to go Amaru. It's not that.
I get it right 7 out of 10 times.
Okay.
I try.
You only do so much. But and that was a shot at Shug, by the way. Yes, we still take shots at Shug here. It's okay. We love Shug. We're gonna take shots at it as well.
Yeah.
All right.
But he picked me up in the mock draft, so I'm good with him.
He did. That's true. He was picking up the mock draft. That's true. All right.
All right, bringing up next is another gentleman I am super interested to talk to, find out what his plans are for the upcoming season if he were to get drafted. We have Jacoby. How are you doing this evening?
Good. I'm excited too to find out what my plans are for the future and the draft as well. That's going to be exciting stuff. So I'm excited to learn that.
Well, that sounds like you fit right in here. That's what we did too. We got to figure out what's going on as we do it. I like the shirt though. It's very active shirt. I love it, man.
Great shirt.
Thank you very
That
much.
usual choice of you, always so bright and shiny.
Yeah, I try to do that. I'm very professional. I'm wearing pajama bottoms actually underneath this, so you can tell that I'm super prepared and professional for this. So I'm ready to go.
It is the quarantine uniform. Let's put it that way. Come on.
Exactly.
I mean, you're lucky if you're wearing pants half the time at this point.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
Okay. Well, we have one more, of course, to fill out the 4, as we call it here.
Yes, I am ready to bring her on. I've got to talk movies with her once or twice. It was pretty awesome. I'm excited to talk some Schmodown on this. Is the first time. I'm pretty excited about it. We have Christina. Welcome.
Hi, everybody.
Look at that. Actually, we had it set to go, the whole layout thing. Good job, Jake. Thank you for that. It was actually pretty close to order. Christina, how are you doing? Good to see you.
I am doing great. I am like, I'm a little exhausted. My husband told me earlier, like, you look like you're about to fall asleep. So I went and I put a full face of makeup on so I can at least pretend to look functional.
I gotta figure that out because that doesn't work for me, unfortunately. It doesn't. But,
That's what the mustache is for, Paul. It's your makeup. It's what it does it for you.
Actually, it's what it is. Usually people look at the mustache, so they kind of focus in on that. They don't look at anything else, so it's all good. So.
Oh, that's true. I'm just noticing your hat, and you're wearing a hat and glasses. I just been looking at the mustache the whole time.
Doing its job.
Rosy eye.
Well, let's get it started with the question everybody wants to start off with. I know you've been doing the tour, so I'm sure you've been asked a lot of similar questions in here. We'll probably start out with some of the questions, try to get more unique as we go on. But why don't you talk about your background as far as a Schmodown is considered, like how you got into it, what your first matches were, your first fandoms. I mean, we'll start with, since you're right next to me, Peggy. We'll start that way and go around. How did you get into the Schmodown first? And
these guys knew about the Schmodown long before I did, for the most part. I didn't catch it till the Free for All 3. It somehow entered into my algorithm, and I was hooked immediately. So I started going back and watching old matches, trying to figure out like who everyone was, character-wise and alliance-wise and all that stuff. And so it's just been kind of a deep dive ever since. And then I got into the fan leagues, and now we're here. I just don't want to get into the whole thing of it because I've gone through it already. But yeah, I'm newer, but the passion for it is there. I guarantee you.
And who's the person that you love the most? Would you as a fan?
Well, because the Free for All 3 got me into it, I am very much a fan of William Bibiani. His run from player number 1 and taking Merle into overtime, unbelievable. I was hooked the entire time. It was fantastic. I was just hanging. He nearly got bounced a few times, and so it was great.
Nice.
So him.
All right. Jacoby, let's go with you. How about your history with the Schmodown?
My history with the Schmodown. Well, actually, my great-great-great-grandfather was actually named Daniel Schmo. So while I was doing an Ancestry.com search about it, I stumbled upon the Schmodown on YouTube. No, okay, that's a lie. We'd ask that. I always want to come up with a fun, exciting story for how I found the Schmodown. But no, the real thing is I was a big fan of William Bibiani before anything. But when I was a high schooler wanting to be a wannabe movie critic, I loved his work when he worked for Crave Online. And I sent him an email once, and he wrote me back, and it was the nicest email I ever got before. So like from that moment, I was a big fan. So one day I'm just on YouTube, and I see his name pop up, William Bibiani versus Mark Andreyko, and the movie trivia Schmodown. I'm like, what's this? So I wanted to check that out. And I was one of those fans who starts off just like, I have no idea what's happening in the story. I'm just skipping ahead straight to the trivia aspect, right? Just the match. But then as you go on and as you watch more, you start watching the end scenes, and you start watching, at the beginning as it goes on, it keeps slowly building. And then I got into the fan leagues that way. And I met some really close friends that way. So it's been a wild ride.
Wow, that's a hell of a first match to watch it first. I mean, that's a great
match.
Oh,
absolutely. To see both of them go at it like that, just like, man, this is awesome. It's a sport that I know that I can watch and be entertained by. So,
all right, Christine, how about you?
So my story involves my husband. So when we first moved in together and we were still dating, I always knew he was like so much dorkier than I am. Like I'm definitely the cooler one in the relationship. So he has a very extensive DVD collection that we had to like take out a separate insurance policy on. So I knew he really loved movies. And then one day I come home from work and he's like watching this and he's like, I don't want you to know like that I'm this dorky. But I found this trivia show and I think we should watch it. And we started watching it, and we've been hooked ever since. So like that was like this became like our show. This was our thing. Like we don't really share this with anybody else. Like this was our thing. We've been to the New York live events together. So this has been like this Schmodown has seen us through everything: our apartment, our engagement, our wedding, our house. So our cat, which is the best part. Like the Schmodown has been there through it all. So that it's been our thing. So I guess it's our little love story with the Schmodown. So yeah, that's how I got involved, was through him. And then he actually joined the fan leagues first. And then I was like, I can try this. Like, let me just throw my name in there. And then I got picked up, and the rest is history. And then now I'm friends with all these wonderful people.
Now, I got to ask real quick before we move on, Tom. I'm going to, you have your husband, and I remember hearing that he was trying to get involved too, but he's not eligible for the draft, correct?
Did not. When Christian surprised us the other night, I did ask if he would do me a personal favor and please put Anthony also on the draft. But that did not work out. I feel like that's a missed opportunity for storyline because we're very opposite. So like we really could have been pit up against each other. We could have been mortal enemies in the Schmodown.
Is there any friction now between you two? Is there a problem now because of it?
Oh no, he's in the chat right now. 100% support. Fair enough. We got each other. We're good.
Okay, good. You want to make sure everybody's supportive of each other.
Oh yeah.
What about you? How about you?
Before I get into mine, just because you brought it up, anybody who can look up the match of FAQ versus INH, which is Jacoby's team versus Peggy's team, and Anthony made the biggest of mistakes. Christina came in and just devoured him. I was able to edit that match, and it was just the most brilliant thing I was able to see. It's hilarious when they go at each other. He did drop the ball because that storyline would have been epic.
Yeah, I believe the question had something to do with like actual life history of like, what movie took place in World War I or something.
Yeah, that's what it was.
It was
1917.
It was 1917. It takes place during like what war?
Yeah, 1917 takes place during what war? And he's like, World War II, Vietnam, and I'm like, 1917? Are you kidding me? You don't have to know the movie. You just have to know like the world.
Sorry, Anthony.
Yeah, we love you, man. It's just I anytime I can bring that up, it's hilarious. Okay, so for me, I am a special education teacher, and towards the end of every year, there's testing that goes on. So the testing goes on, I kind of have a lot of time to kill. So I'm at work. I follow Jeremy Johns. I'm in my YouTube hole of Jeremy Johns, and a Schmodown match comes up. I'm like, cool. And then I see the 5-way Inner Geekdom match. I'm like, all right, I can't skip this anymore. Watch that match, and then haven't stopped watching since. I love movies. I love trivia. Movies have been my life. Trivia is one of the funnest things I've ever done. And once I saw I could start answering questions, and then I saw the characters, and then I was like, all right, well, I'm going back to season 3. I'm getting my nephew onto this. It's been there ever since. And then as they said, went on to the fan leagues, got more people in my life, and it's the rest is history.
Makes sense. All right.
Did anybody else not get the characters at first, or is it just me? Like I was the only one that didn't get it. I don't know anything about wrestling, so I was like, oh, I didn't realize that this was.
I am not a wrestling person either. So when first everyone was in heel mode, I'm like, why is everybody such a butthead to each other? Like, oh my gosh.
I was like, that was really rude.
I loved wrestling. I was a big wrestling guy growing up, so I knew right away what was happening. I knew Christian was a wrestling guy. So as soon as I saw these guys, I'm like, this is good heel action, good face, and everything else. Roka doing his thing, Andrew Guy doing his thing. I was like, I know it's good like this. This is perfectly done. So seeing that, a big question I have for actually all 4 of you is what interested me about seeing, obviously all the rookies are making the rounds. This has been, I'm sure everybody can't wait for the draft at this point because you guys are waiting for it. The after shows are definitely waiting for it because we've done so many more interviews than we ever usually do in a week. You guys package yourselves as a foursome. You get the family 4. You're going around to all the shows together. There seems to be some kind of strategy you're working for. Can you want to explain what the thought process was about packing you guys all together and how that's going to work out for you guys?
That was me. When our names appeared on the draft list, I started a little group chat for the 4. So I'm like, we might as well try to support each other and get each other through this. And then I was watching football on a Saturday, and I'd had a few adult beverages, and I got the brilliant idea of hashtag the Fan League 4 in my head. And I may have tried to start that without their permission. kind of shot myself in the foot there with that one. So I kind of backed off it, but then it kind of gained a little bit momentum. So I'm like, hey, I guess let's do this. Maybe it's a thing. I don't know.
And it was better to ask permission than ask for forgiveness rather than ask permission.
I guess I just wasn't thinking. I was just like, oh, this will be cool.
Yeah, we just kind of woke up in the morning, and then our chat says like, "We're the Fan League 4." It's like, oh.
Yeah.
But I just gotta say that was like the best thing. That Peggy did to bring us together and for all of us four to support each other as we go through this crazy thing. Because I think about like if I was like alone in this and I would not know how to handle this and I could not handle it without these three wonderful people going through this with me here. So it's like all the credit to Peggy for combining it and pushing us forward and helping just as we all support each other in this wild ride of a time.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. It's much easier to hype each other up than to just like, I'm not going to like slide into someone's DMs and be like, hey, want to draft me? But I can be like, hey, you want to talk about my friend? And then like, maybe you can talk about me too, but let's talk about my friend first.
And it really is just very indicative of what the fan leagues are like, or can be like, or should be like. I was right before we got on. I was looking at the four of us, and I was like, "There's one guy who is connected to all of us, who's probably promoted us the most before anything. He's in the chat right now, Tony Heald.
Yep,
one of the greatest guys. Period. And it's like just that's the type of community the fan leagues build, and the fact that the four of us were already very tight before getting into this, and it was like it was a no-brainer to be like, there's no way we're not making sure all four of us get our names out there, because that's what we do. So,
yep.
Okay. Now, I admit I'm not exactly well versed with a lot of the fan league stuff. I know there's a lot of them out. I think part of the problem for me was there's always a lot of them. Yeah. How dare you, Jake? How dare you? You're not wrong, but how dare you?
I'd be an amazing special teams player. I'll throw blocks. Let's go.
But it's, I don't know. There's a lot of them out there. So I kind of think, you guys, have you all played in one? Do you play in different ones together? Which ones have you come through? I mean, what are the ones out there? Maybe you could describe those to the people who don't know much about the families.
There's a lot. I play in a lot of different ones. As we mentioned, Tony has one, Featured Presentation Productions. It's kind of the one that like just welcome all comers. If you're a beginner and you're looking to go somewhere, you want to go there. A lot of the other major ones are Multiplex Entertainment, Full Metal Media. There's also TMG out there, Open and Night Trivia League, and they're all over the place. But it's a lot of the same people. A lot of the same people. You cross a lot of the same people playing in different leagues. They have Geek. They have some Star Wars exhibitions. They do a lot of stuff that Schmodown does, and it's just a really big community of the coolest nerds you'll ever see. So, yeah.
Not so much, right?
I don't know if it could be very cool. But I echo that sentiment. There's so many out there, and I think we're all pretty active in a lot of them as we continue to play and cross each other in different areas and cross different people, and it goes back to the community. It's like you build up kind of community and friendships in each and every one of them, really. And a lot of them are similar in movie trivia, but they're a lot of them have different variety and so many different changes of like how the format of them that it just makes it different for each one and just creates a real fun time for anyone who just really loves movie trivia and loves movies and likes a great group of people. Reach out to the fan leagues. There's
definitely something for everybody, all different levels. More casual play to serious ranked, going for a title play. So like if you're not that serious, then that league's not for you, and there's nothing wrong with that. You kind of there's a spot for everybody. Basically, find where you want to fit in, or join all of them. You can do whatever you want.
Right? Like I've teamed up with Christina. I don't think we've ever played one another.
I don't think so.
Yeah, we've teamed up together. I've teamed up with her husband. I've played against Drew. I've played against Jacoby in teams, but like never individually. But yeah, it's just weird. You kind of cross paths as you go, and you get to meet some amazing people along the way.
That's great. I mean, it's great to see. It is to see a community. It's nice to see that come around. Obviously, the fan league forward. This whole thing is a testament to that atmosphere you're talking about. But because you are so close, Danny in the chat here, Danny in our private chat. Yeah, Danny's always hanging out behind the scenes, and she's not ready to come on the screen. But she did throw some questions in there because she can't help herself, and I love her for it. Because you guys are all so close, does that mean is it going to be easier to go after each other if you end up on different factions, or you want to end up on the same faction? Like, how's that going to work for you guys?
Ooh, that's tough. I think it would.
Since I already talked smack on the two boys here already.
Yeah, I would be afraid if like I had to go up against like Christina, like if she was like my partner. I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna get destroyed in a promo. Like, absolutely, she's gonna tear me down. But I guess that's good that I know that hopefully we're friends.
Yes.
Christina,
I would not have said anything that I said if we weren't friends.
Okay, good. Thank you. You definitely want Christina more as a friend than as an enemy. That's definitely makes it easier, and I think it would be just a lot of fun to just. It would be a little different. I don't think we would go after each other in the straight heel sort of way of just like, you suck type thing. It's just, no, we'd gently poke fun at each other and have a great time while playing. Cause it'd just be amazing to sit across a digital table, I guess, from one of them in the showdown. So
look, I grew up where my closest friends were the one that talked the most crap about me. So it is literally just normal life. Like, who can talk mess about you more than the people who know you and love you the most? So, yeah, it's going to be easier, but we have the type of relationship where that works. That's welcome. That's actually expected if Christina is on screen. So,
all right. Well, that's an interesting point. Actually, I think in a related question to degree, we all know, it's kind of common knowledge that when like Polyama came to the league, and then Chance Ellison to a degree, there was some friction at that point when someone from a family type thing came into a place where a lot of people knew each other and everything else. So, do you think that helps you guys going in there as far as like you have your own factions, as far as interacting with these different people, as far as the gameplay versus actually getting along? Because this is just as much a show as it is a trivia competition. You guys got to get along. Do you guys have any thoughts on how is there going to be a problem? Do you think? Do you think it might be too much together, where it's going to be you against them, or how are you going to intertwine with the people that are already established in the league?
I mean, I've pretty much found that like everybody likes me, so like it's probably.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so like, I'm sure I'll just fit in like immediately, but no, I would think that is worrisome. We're no matter what, you're still the new kids. Like, you're still the scrub. I was the sorority pledge. Like, I know what it's like to be the new person in. You have to earn your stripes, both on the battlefield and within your faction, of being a respected member of the faction. Of, are you a team player? Are you somebody that's going to help? So yeah, no, I think you just got to, you have to play that out. I don't think it would be as aggressive. I think like Paul and Chance like kind of came in hot with their character work. So I think that was probably a part of it too. But obviously they backed it up with their play. But I think, I think when they kind of when they dialed that back a little bit, I think is kind of when things got a little bit smoother for them, in my opinion.
I agree with that, because I think Paul Oyama, he came in as just like a beast of knowledge, but I think there was a lot of kind of pushback against him because he was kind of standoffish and he was just very focused, and then it made people upset that he kept winning, like he kept doing so well. And I imagine I can't imagine him going into that just alone and what his mindset was kind of as he approached it and kind of built up this new relationship. But then you see what he's done this last season, I guess, what it is with like Winston. You can tell like the camaraderie he's built with his manager Winston, and even with Lon and stuff, as he's kind of shed that more jacket wearing, sunglass wearing, typical heel family player, and is more involved in the faction itself. I mean, but it is going to be kind of scary to come in. But we're all up for the challenge. We're all going to have a good time while doing it.
Yeah, and I think like by now, almost half of the factions have former family players in, and they all have come in and been authentic, been themselves, and come showing they're ready to play. So I think them already being out there, as long as we come in and show the passion, I don't think it's going to matter. And whatever our records are by the end of the season, as long as we have the passion, I feel like people, anybody's going to accept us. Anybody's going to be more than willing to have us, and more than ready and willing to let more fan leaguers in, more non-fan leaguers in, whoever it is. As long as you're ready to play and you have love for the game, it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, I think no matter where any of us land, I think we're going to go in there and just try to be a sponge and learn what we can from the people who are established, who know the game, who have played the game and played it well, and try to learn from them. And I think we learned that just from being in factions in the families and just knowing the game as it is.
I mean, I'd say this. But
I was just saying, like, knowing the game as it is, because it's a big plus, us family leaguers. We're already used to this digital format. You know, we can keep our hands on screen. We have small portable whiteboards. You know, we know to do things like if you need a repeat, wait till like the 3-2-1, like right when you need it to take the full time that you need. Like we understand the minutia that is needed to continue playing that. A lot of other, I think, people on like the draft, the new people in the draft, you know, don't necessarily have the experience with. So I think that's a plus for the Fan League 4 right there.
well, actually, that kind of led me to my my question about that. You were coming in exactly at the right time. Like you said, this is the digital format. This is what you guys are used to. How do you think the transition is going to be when they make the transition back into a studio and then even in a live format? Is that something that you guys are nervous about at all? You think you got it all under control? How do you think about that?
I don't think any of us know what to expect when we get into that sort of format. Maybe we'll be just sit there steady hand, cool as ice, but maybe we'll be freaking out. Who knows? Hopefully we'll have a faction who will prepare us for that and make sure that we're ready as best as we can be.
I'll probably freak out because that's just my personality, but then I will handle my shit. But like up until then, I will be freaking out. So.
Honestly,
Yeah.
everything so.
I agree with that. It's just like I in high school and a little bit of college, you know, I was in theater kid, shocker. And you know, every time I was on stage and doing all that stuff, it's like no matter how many times I went on stage, I was always, you know, nervous beforehand, right? Because that nerves are I respect the people who just can go out there with no nerves whatsoever. But I think the nerves can be a good thing because, you know, it keeps you hungry, it keeps you humble, it keeps you focused, and it's like you're ready to go. So even if you're like, I will be nervous, you know, when I was about to say if I get to a live, when I get to a live event type thing, should just put that out there. You know, I think that would be good. Actually, the nerves will help, you know, take you to the next level. So.
Yeah, and for me, I've been an athlete all my life, so I've always had the same nerves I get before every single match I play in the fan leagues. Those is the same nerves I've gotten before a cross country race, a track meet, a basketball game, a soccer game. It's always been there, and I'm gonna do it before Peggy does it. But check out March 20th, 2016, Hollywood Game Night. I've tested it in a live setting with lights, with people, and I did pretty well. So I know I'm ready. I know another
Damn
person.
you, Eliza!
I was doing with Eliza Schlesinger, and if she was on my team, we would have demolished. But she was on the other team, and she's absolutely amazing. So I got robbed of the win, but I did not miss one question presented to me. So I know I'm ready. I'm going to do it now. I know there's another person on this call who's had the exact same experience, who's also ready. And then the other two who haven't had that experience, there's no question. So
Okay.
I laid it out to you.
Yeah, he did. He's talking about, I was on a celebrity name game with Craig Ferguson with Eliza Schlesinger as well. And I lost because Craig Ferguson said the wrong year that Die Hard came out. He was asking me to guess Die Hard. He's like, what 1996 movie stars Bruce Willis as a cop, you know, from New York City? And I was like, and you know, I had to think, I was like, well, Die Hard didn't come out in 96, so it's not that one. Anyway, that's a story.
Wow, that's not even close though. That's like
Exactly.
10 years later.
So thanks, Rue, for opening up that wound.
I had to have it. You had to have it. I'm sorry.
I have no on-screen credits, but I was a PA on Widows. Does that count?
I'll give it to you.
Right.
Absolutely. As far as that goes. All right, cool.
I got one.
I mean, I win the awards at my middle school lip sync every year.
Oh yeah.
Teacher, just saying, I crush it.
I thought you were about to say you go up against middle schoolers and you beat them.
No, that's what I mean. Yes.
Oh, okay, good.
I recruit my middle school students to be the performance with me, and then we beat the other kids because I don't lose.
You don't lose. Okay,
I literally cut people. I had one girl who wanted to join, and I was like, "No, you can't be in it. You're not good enough." I was like,
all right. Well, as far as entertainment goes, obviously you guys obviously seem like you know the trivia. That's what I've heard from you guys. That you know the movie trivia and everything else. The other side is character. It is a wrestling based kind of show. So how are you guys on character? Something you are excited about trying? Or you think it's going to get in the way of what you're doing? You want to be face and feel? Is this anything fun for you? Or what's your thoughts on how to go about that?
I am 100% hoping that my personality can become the character. I feel like I'm fairly outgoing. I feel like I'm fairly nice. And as Anthony has said in the chat, as much as I say I am the nicest dude in the fan leagues, I can cut somebody very easily and quickly. I have opened up a lot of wounds today. Apparently, they still like me. I believe they still like me, so I'm taking that and running with it. I'm hoping that will carry, and we'll be able to have as much fun with my quote unquote character as we can.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I'll play whatever they want. I'm by no means am I an actress, so I'm hoping it's as close to my personality as possible. Maybe something like I'm from New Jersey, so maybe an exaggerated New Jerseyan, aka myself. But like something close to my personality would be the easiest since I'm not an actress. So,
well, that's always the way to go too. I know Stone Cold Steve Austin basically said that the best characters were just themselves amped up to 10 out of 10 basically, or beyond 10, so to speak. So it's the easiest way to go. I feel like that.
I'm actually putting in the work kind of as it is, because right now I'm actually I'm straight out of Downton Abbey in real life. I'm a British person. I'm very stuffy. I'm very uptight. So what I'm presenting right now is actually just all character 100%. So I'm already there. So this is great.
oh my God, this is the highest compliment I've ever received. That I see Christina as kind of like Marissa Tomei in my company.
Yeah, kind of see it.
Wow. Thank you. I don't know you, but you that's a life-changing compliment, right?
As far as I go, I'm open, face heel, whatever is needed from whatever faction I am lucky enough to be a part of. But if I were to do, how people do cosplay, I can't do Dottie Henson because the Shire Wolves already dressed up as Rockford Peaches. So I've been saying that my number one wish would be Becky the Icebox O'Shea from the Little Giants. Because that pretty much encompasses my personality.
Makes sense.
Very cool. Love that.
Yeah, Danny's a big fan, by the way, and she's saying yes.
Nice.
So
Dottie would have been cool.
That would have been cool. Interestingly enough, today I know this is specifically Amaru. I know Roxy Stryer was talking about you today. I don't know if you saw that at all.
I was informed by Peggy, because again, Peggy does a lot of the scouting.
Everything.
Yeah, she.
My allegiance is these three right now, so I make sure when their names are mentioned, they are alerted to it if I hear it. So.
Oh yeah, she'll text us at Rue and I'll be like, so we're in third period. So
I'm currently have students watching my face right now, but as soon as I can, I will jump off and
my dad, don't look at me.
The injury was a blessing. The injury was a blessing.
Well, there you go. I mean, it actually works out for you guys. At least you have that 24/7. Somebody's always watching something. Right? There you go. So you spoke to Roxy and you told her you wanted to go to Swag, and that initially turned her off a little bit, but then she turned around and said that she liked that you told her the truth exactly about where you wanted to go. So you all have factions that you do definitely want to go to. Obviously, I get the fact I'm not going to make you shoot yourself in the foot. You'll be open to anything as far as that. I know that. I get that. But do you have anything that you like? I think I want to work with them besides Amaru wants Swag. Obviously, good. How about you, Christina?
Obviously, I'll take anybody. I think personality-wise, I think Shannon and I think we just have similar personalities. I think we would get along very well. And I like how she manages. I think that's how I would treat my students. I think I'm a very involved teacher. So I just think I would want a very involved manager. And she seems to encompass that. Not saying that nobody else wouldn't, but that's just the vibe I'm getting from her. But I mean, really, I'll go anywhere. I'll work hard for anybody. And but I think personality-wise, I think we would mesh the best.
Okay.
Totally makes sense.
That makes sense. Tell me, how about you?
Personality wise, it's personality wise, it seems like a face faction is the strip. So it's like someone like Koi. I love Koi's energy. I love his upbeatness. I love everything he does, kind of his quickness and his, his ability to go to the mat for his players and all that stuff. And I also like Winston, just his commitment to his players and everything like that. Obviously, with a little disclaimer of the PC action of just like, we'll play for anybody. We anybody who drafts us, we're going to go hard for. But it's probably a little harder for me to be a heel than a face, just because I like trying to be nice in general. But we'll do what we have to do in order to keep going.
What about you, Becky?
To quote Brittany Murphy in "Don't Say a Word," I'm going to butcher this impersonation, but I'll never tell.
Okay, fair. No, I don't blame you. Don't blame me at all. It is kind of funny that you mentioned like the three that did mention it. It's exactly, if you had asked me like off the bat who would go, I would pick. I would for Swag. I would pick Christina for Shannon. I would pick Jacoby for Koi. And since Becky, since you didn't say, I would actually pick you for Kaiser. That'd be my thought.
That's what
I can get down with
see that too. Yeah,
Those are my four that I say right there. So maybe that's where we go. Kaiser does watch the show. So if you're listening, yes. Kaiser. We are big Kaiser fans here on Call to Action now. So if we're that, Danny had another question from the chat, and she should almost just come on. Really, Danny, really should come on. But I know you don't want to. I know you don't have your face on. I know that. I get it. She also, if anybody would want to compete in the Star Wars division, that's actually a bigger question I had overall. Is like, what divisions you guys think you want to go for? And I mean, and it's like a part one and part two. Is the ones that you want to start with and ones you want to get to eventually, or so basically it's a two-part question. How about you guys? Sorry, you, Peggy. As far as the division.
I want to go singles and teams, but right now I think that where I am currently in my knowledge, that I would be great as a teammate, because I know a lot of the more female leaning movies more so than a lot of people, and so I would think I would fill in the gaps in someone who's like an A player. I would be the B player on that team, and I would be happy to do that and hopefully learn from them as I go. So singles and teams, but right now I'm really hoping to find a partner that will kind of take me under their wing.
Good point, because PJ has been very vocal about how he's been trying to more diversify the questions and adding more females, adding more black cinema, adding more, and it's trying to basically diversify the questions away from the old white guy questions like I get. So it's actually a good strength for you. How about you, Jacoby? Where are you at?
I think first and foremost, I'm a singles and teams type of guy. I want to get out there and make a name for myself as a singles player, and I also want to be in a team because I think I work well in a team, and I think that's a lot of fun. I do want to get into IG. I am nowhere near on the level of IG as the other gentleman on this call who is going to be an IG star, but I think I could do okay for any faction in IG if you need someone who's both singles and teams and IG, because points are points at the end of the day, and I could pull in some. So singles and team first. I'm pretty competent in IG. Star Wars, I'll rewatch them. Sure, if you want to put me in a Star Wars match. How many are there? There's like 9.
It's 11.
There's 11. Okay, never mind then. Okay.
For now.
12.
More
Solo Rogue One.
Yeah.
Yeah. Say that about you.
No, thank you on the Star Wars. So I was that's a hard no for Christina. But yeah, no, I'm a singles and teams. Similar to Peggy, I would probably prefer to play more teams matches than single matches. I feel like I work better with somebody than I do by myself. And just like women tend to get a lot of hate in this community when they do well, and I don't think people are ready for the clapback they will receive hating on me. So I should probably stick to a teammate so that it'll level everything out a little bit more.
Fair enough.
No,
she needs some breaks.
We want 100% Christina 100% of the time. That's what we want. That's what we all deserve. For me, take what Jacoby said and flip it. I am an IG player primarily, but I also feel like I can overall help in all the divisions, singles and teams. I rank it IG, then teams, then singles. Very much like my friends here. I feel like I can be a perfect counterpart to a teammate. Again, black cinema, a lot of the obscure 90s kids movies, family stuff, all the IG components. But IG is where I live. IG is where I live. Wizarding World is my bread and butter. I have a lot of different strengths there. When it comes to Star Wars, I was on a certain point of view with Molly, and the question was asked if I was given 60 days to study Star Wars. How would I do? And at the moment, I felt myself and said the belt would be mine, because I feel like in 60 days, I am a very good studier. In 60 days, I can learn a lot. But Molly, I'm talking to you. Let's bring that back. So let me say I can be confident enough to possibly steal a belt from somebody. But Star Wars is not what I'm looking for. I am not looking in that division. I can stick with my Star Wars IG knowledge and then go from there.
Okay, fair enough. All right, we got a couple of questions. I'm going to have actually one question that I want to ask, but then we actually have some questions from the Call to Action Patreon, which we just opened up. So patreon.com/call to action. Join a lot of tiers. You can always ask questions of our guests. So we have at least a few of those. And yes, Dan is going to clip out that talking. You're talking spicy. That's what she says. You're talking spicy, and she's going to clip that out. She likes that. Peggy, my question for you. This is probably the most important question of the whole night. How the fuck are the Bears going to turn this around? And, and fuck all this noise at this point.
Y'all are going to draft more tight end?
Sign Trubisky to a 1-year contract, and he's trying to figure the hell out. Okay, we can curse. I call that. Yeah. Trying to figure the fuck out. We need to shore up the offensive line. Definitely. Eddie Jackson needs to take his head out of his ass because he had a great season last year, and he just disappeared this year for some reason.
Do you guys need a coach? I heard Doug Peterson's available.
Yeah. we already got settled with your quarterback from.
You mean the Super Bowl MVP quarterback? That guy?
Yeah, him. Fat lot of good hit us.
Big Nick. But hey, we did promote Sean Desai. I think that was a good move. Going back to the old school, move for
secondary coach. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, Pagano. I was not sad to see him go. I think he was very much less aggressive than our previous defensive coordinators, and for some reason they kept Khalil Mack not rushing the quarterback for some reason. Why? I don't know.
Correct. We're on the same page. Okay. Now back to Schmodown questions. I did have to ask the one. Me and Peggy had to have at least one shared Bears moment.
that last game was rough. That was rough.
All right, Kelsey, what has the Patreon question?
Yeah, sure. Let me pull it up.
Follow me and you are going to a game one day. Mark my words. I've got season tickets. You and me, we're gonna go.
That's great.
All right. First question we have is from John Lustrina. The most important question to ask is which Fast and the Furious film is the best?
First. The first.
The
Paul
first
Walker in his prime.
What?
Yeah.
The best and my favorite are different answers. I would go with the first as the best, but Paul Walker saying pockets ain't empty because in Too Fast and Furious is just I laugh and love it. I love Too Fast, Too Furious. I just do.
Yo, that was going to be my answer too, but my story's weird because in 9th grade it came out, and my friend was like going on a date with a boy for the first time, and she was nervous, so she like made me and my other friend also go. So like that movie just holds a special place in my heart because we were like the creepy people that happened to also be at the movie. Boyfriend. So like low key love that movie just because it was so awkward.
Furious 7 has Vin Diesel fighting Jason Statham. It's like, what thing about a street fight? Street always wins. Come on,
they lost me when they started jumping cars between buildings.
Yes, cars don't fly. But that one was awesome. It had such a great send off for Paul Walker. I love Furious 7.
You're all wrong, by the way. It's Point Break is the best Fast and Furious movie. Yeah.
All right. Next question we have is from Weston. Considering you may be drafted by Gucci or Kaiser, how good are you at posting bail?
I'm excellent because I've had to do it before for a friend.
I think you need to kind of expand out a little bit. Come on.
My bestie knows a bail bondsman. That's the best I got.
It wasn't real jail. It was stadium jail in college. But I had to like sign a release that I was like taking responsibility of her custody, and she was back on the ground. Like then they would have arrested me as well. So that's really good because I had experience.
You could have just been solid and left it at that, but
you got to push for the stories. You got to do that. What do you guys, Jacoby? You guys have any stories like that you want to share?
I shall plead the fifth. One I'm pleading the fifth.
That's a good strategy.
God, everyone's
Secrets.
so cool.
They're working for me so far.
It wasn't real jail. I didn't get her. Somebody else got her out the other time she got arrested for real. But
That might be fair too. You take your chances with the replacement managers. I get that. Yeah, bad ideas. All right.
Next question we have is also from Weston. Do you think Twitter-based feuds should count as official Schmodown feuds?
I hope so, because I kind of got into a feud with Frank Janish a little bit before he deleted that post. I didn't even have to do anything for that. It was all these guys like hyping me up, and I was just like, oh, all of a sudden, like I guess I'm Janish now. So that's a thing. So yes, 100%, they should count.
I'm with that. I'm very much with that. I'm going to leave it at that. But Twitter allows me to think on what I'm going to say to somebody. So you really don't want that because you don't want me to be able to think of how I'm going to make you make your soul just go away. So
Fair enough.
I don't think they should. I just don't like airing my crap out on social media, I think. So I'm going to vote no on this one. I know. Who saw that coming? I didn't really see that either.
Fair enough.
That was another instance where I had a failed hashtag of "Where's Jacoby" that I was trying to start, but it was effective because Frank responded.
That is actually
That's fair.
Frank Janice is always what the WTF Frank? That's what we do. What the fuck Frank? As he knows there. I want to throw that up there. John Lestrina, thank you for the super chat. PLD would like Point Break 2015. How dare you, sir? How dare you? Only the 1991 Point Break. But
you gotta stop trying to remake everything. You don't leave some things as they were. It's fine.
Absolutely. So.
It's like remake bad movies, don't remake good movies. You're just gonna make it worse.
Now one more Patreon question.
We have one more from Ben Rayner. Do you have a perfect movie? Just a movie to you that's perfect and that could be you could rewatch whenever and wherever.
Line spotting. My answer every single time. I lived in the Bay for 10 years and it encompasses everything that Oakland is. It is humor, it is drama, it is tension, it is the most hilarious thing I've ever seen. I'll bring it up. Just put your thin face on and just how disgustingly beautiful it is. Blind Spotting is epic and one of my favorite movies.
Very good.
My perfect movie is What's Your Number with Chris Evans and Anna Faris. I love this.
Jump in the Uber.
Yes, I love this movie. I love this movie. It just makes me so happy. And like, this is the movie. This is where I fell in love with my boyfriend, Chris Evans. So, yes.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Mine is 1999's The Mummy. That's always my answer.
You're not simping to be with Stacey Howard, are you? That's not a
No.
Feature team possibility.
But I love that. I love that movie more than anything. It is such a perfect action adventure movie that I could watch every time that it's on. Brendan Fraser's amazing. I love that core three. I love the villain. I love the story. I love the setting. I love everything about it. I love it.
a bad choice. It's a nice background movie for me too. So, Peggy, how about you?
I normally answer When Harry Met Sally, but because I was on Video Chronics quiz the other night and I bowled the perfect game on this movie, and it is one of my favorites. I'm gonna say Coming to America because that's just one you can throw on. Doesn't matter where it's on at what point in the movie it's at. You can just be like, "Hey, there we go. Let's go along for this ride."
Very happy to be here.
What does dumb fuck mean?
So you won the Video Chronic quiz with Coming to America?
I missed no questions. I got the 5-pointer at the end. Yeah, I won that.
Nice, very nice. I'm so mad I missed out on that. I was supposed to be on the one, The Crow with Jeff Snyder, and I played along like more. I tied him. I would have. So
can't rain all the time.
I know. It can't rain all the time. Exactly. We do have a Streamlab from D Train. A question for Amaru. If the Brooklyn Nets are the only New York team in the playoffs this year, will you be rooting for them?
Who? The only Nets that I acknowledge are from New Jersey. So I don't know what's going on with them. There are no other basketball teams in New York but the Knicks. I don't care how horrible they are, but they're not horrible right now. RJ's balling out. Julius Randle is not a spin cycle of death. He's a spin cycle of joy now. I don't know who you are talking about. The only Net I acknowledge is Jason Kidd, and he was a Knick afterwards. So next question, please.
I like that. You dropped the mic there on that. Okay, fair enough. Okay, question actually I did have about this was, now let's say, I don't want to put anything negative in the air, but let's say you're not drafted. Christian mentioned the establishment of the minor league system, or whatever, the official minor leagues. Are you willing to work with that? And more importantly, before you answer, knowing how the Schmodown works, if you were made to be exclusive, like you couldn't be in the fan leagues anymore, you had to do the minor leagues only. Is that something you would consider? Or is that something that's going to be a no-go?
I'm coming one way or the other. Doesn't care what path I'm coming. I'm coming.
All right. Jacoby?
That was such a straightforward answer. With such menace. That was so good. Because I guess I'd have to be on the fence because I love the fan leagues. To be honest with you, it's like I love the community that's built there, and I love playing there. I would have to see more about what these what does he call it, like the development league is what is kind of what he says, and see how that goes, because it seems like there's a lot of up in the air pieces about it right now. So it's like I would want to learn more about it before committing myself to that in terms of things, because it would be hard to leave all these established people and friends and everything that I've established. So I don't know yet.
Oh, there you go. Oh, this might be an easy answer for you guys at this point.
Tony.
Yeah.
Tony is our biggest hype man.
Yeah, he'll never get us.
There you go. Winston. Winston. Christine, how about you?
I'm down to play for whoever will let me play. So probably it'll be whoever lets me play the most is where I'd like to go, because I enjoy playing. So whoever will let me play is where I would like to go.
Fair enough. All right.
I'm with Jacoby on this one. It's really, really hard, to the point where it's hard and I'd have to think about it. I know I would probably break down and join the minor leagues, but leaving the fan leagues is rough. It really is. The amount we get to play, the people we get to play with, and just not being able to be there as much as you want to, is just it's something I don't want to think about, to tell you the truth. So I think I know I would say yes to the minor leagues, but with just can we just put them in? Okay, yeah, I'm with them.
Avoid all that awkwardness and just draft all of us, and then we don't have to face such a difficult
simple solution to this problem,
right? Solutions.
Matt, it's been real good to see you, buddy. Always like to see you in the chat. So let me ask this then. Let's have you call your shot right now. You get into the match. You get into the big leagues. Who's your first opponent? Who do you want to take down?
There's another. It's so tough because it's like a balance. Like, do you want to go after an established person, or do you want to go after another rookie? Because I have two separate answers. For established person, I would love to go against Paul Preston, because I love Paul Preston. I think he is the perfect blend of beastly trivia knowledge and pure humor. I love the way he approaches the game. I love everything about it, and it would be an honor to play him. On the league side of the rookie drafts, I'm kind of interested in Jacob Blunden, because I just realized his name is incredibly close to mine. How great would that be? Jacoby Bancroft versus Jacob Blunden. I mean, that match practically sells itself.
JB saved me. I love it. Christine, how about you?
I really think Rick the Rager is hilarious, and I think if he and I played each other, the smack talk for that would be. I'm not actually sure trivia would happen, because I think the two of us would just go at it, and it would be hilarious. And when I started watching the Schmodown, I fell in love with Kuga and just the craziness of it. And that's what I would hope to bring back. So I would think that would be one of those just super fun matches, that it's not probably the highest scoring match, but just like a great match overall for everybody to watch.
You know what? I never thought about it like just Jake here, but that does sound like an awesome possibility. I'd like to see that make it happen.
Ryan.
How about you, Oliver?
If I had to choose, go up against somebody that was established already, wasn't a rookie, wasn't somebody who hasn't played much, Brandon Hanna has not gotten out of my head. I've been to one live event, and it was in Atlanta, and I talked to him for a little bit, told him he was going to lose to Chandru. He did. So I know he has a fire in him, and if there's somebody that I feel like is that right balance of a challenge, but somebody I think I could go head-to-head with and pull out the win, I'm going to go Brandon. I'm going to go Hanna.
And Jake wants to see that happen. I guess ever since Hannah turned on D2A a long time ago, we have to.
Jake, you say it for me, so I don't have to. And then when it happens,
a lot of hatred there going on. Jake holds grudges. It's not gonna. That's not. I gather you.
Well, my down the line hope it's not off the bat is because Bibbs again brought me into it. Like I hope one day to face him. But I hope that ain't the first day. Here's a political answer for you. I will face whoever my faction manager tells me to, and I will study them and make sure that I do my best to bring points back home to that faction. How's that?
Take your shot. Come on.
Rachel Silver-Struni. That would be a fun match. Me versus
there you
her.
go.
That would be a fun match.
Rachel would be a fun match. That'd be a lot of fun to do.
I love her.
That is great. That is great. Well, I think that's what, unless anybody has any other questions in the chat, I think we're going to move on to our next segment after this. We're so happy you guys came on. One last question I'll ask you, since we're going to be Kelsey and I'm going to be delving into the experience from yesterday of the free agency. Since you guys are all fans of the Schmodown itself also, how did you guys feel about the free agency special last night? Were you shocked by anything? Were you not surprised by anything? Or what were your favorite moments from last night?
Bibbs and the kids stayed with Quirky Mercs. How surprising! No, it's like a lot of it. Yeah, that was cool, and I'm glad they did that. Biggest surprise for me, I guess, was everything with the dungeon overall. That was everything for everything else.
I thought Murrow was going to the usual suspects, so I was surprised he went to the dungeon.
I was absolutely geeked when The Godfather came back. I've been asked who's my favorite player a lot, and since he's been gone, I kind of had him out of my head. But when I heard the music, I'm like, yes, Drew, let's go. I was so happy to see him back. He just encapsulates everything I love about movies and trivia and acting like a nice guy, being a nice guy, but then you don't want to cross him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And the fact that you straight up called out Bateman at the end too. You were like, oh shit, because you were like low key didn't know who he was talking about, but then you would just drop the bomb. Okay, McWeenie, I see you. I will say though, like on the East Coast, like it was a little late, and my bedtime on Fridays is very early. So like as soon as the free agency was over, I was like, all right, cool, I'm going to sleep. And then like 10 minutes later, Peggy's like, yo, is anybody watching Rundown? Like a major trade just happened. I was like, girl, I'm already in bed. Like
I alerted them to that.
Up as late as I did. But that's honestly my biggest fear next week for the draft is like I don't know if I'm going to be awake long enough to actually see if my name gets called, because after working 5 days a week in a classroom with kids in a pandemic, I'm tired on Fridays.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. Last real quick, I'll say Mike Deacon said he drafted Jacoby to his fantasy teams to go to Jacoby. That's true. I was there for that.
Thank you, Jake.
I was actually auto drafting for that, and every time they basically allowed people to stream labs in. Every time somebody stream labs over $10, they get to choose my team for me. So I'm not going to win this fantasy league at all. It's not good. It's not great.
Yeah, Jake got me rude.
To see what was going to happen eventually. And Danny, I will say, Danny Costa had one question he wanted to ask you, the double feature movie question, which is definitely a good question. He goes on Kaiser question. He loves this.
This is a Kaiser question. Yeah.
If you had one night, it could be, this could change. This could be just what it is. Right tonight, you have to show a double feature at your house with your friends. What are the two movies you're watching back to back?
Ooh.
Oh, that's easy. Easy.
Is it easy? What are they?
Go ahead. Yeah, if you're there, go ahead.
Infinity War, Endgame. Done.
The Chris Evans special.
And And the fish
Infinity
Emperor.
War makes me cry, so I can't watch that one.
Yeah, but then Endgame makes everything better, and you watch it right after. So we
Not for me.
I don't mind
I'm
now.
a Loki girl, so like I'm
Oh,
miserable throughout that movie.
I was in hysterics in the theater. Like I was like sobbing into my sweatshirt at the end of it. And Anthony, like, you're
Yeah.
good. I'm like, no, I'm not.
Okay, so we got Infinity War and Endgame. What are some of their double features we're getting to watch?
I'll go. I encourage people to watch rom-coms a lot. So 2 of the newer ones that don't seem to be talked about a lot, Long Shot and one on Netflix called Someone Great.
Okay. I have not heard
I
of
love
some.
Long Shot. I haven't seen Someone Great yet, though.
Ooh, it's
Ooh,
fantastic.
I'll have to watch it.
So good.
Add it to my queue. Absolutely. All right. How about you, Mark?
So if I have people over, it's going to be my boys. And if we're going to be watching something, we're watching something that we will be quoting every single line of. So we're doing the Chris Tucker double special. We're going Rush Hour Money Talk.
No Friday.
Nah, Money. Friday. I've seen so many times. Not many people give Money Talks the love it deserves, and there are so many quotables in both of that movies. You won't be able to hear the movie because all we're going to be doing is reciting every single word.
Jacoby, before you guys their ways, Christina did one today. Paddington 2 and the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
That is an interesting.
That's an interesting combo.
Which one do you watch first and second? Do you watch?
So we watched Paddington 2 first because we had to write questions for it for a match. And then I watched Blair Witch because I needed to watch it for my podcast. And then later in the day, I watched Tarzan and then Pocahontas because I need that for a match tomorrow.
Yep.
So we watched
That was a hectic day.
Back to back to back to back feature.
It's funny between matches and podcasts and everything else we were all doing. We don't really choose our movies anymore. It's all like we're all doing movie watching for something specific. It's like, how about you, Jacoby? What's your choosing?
I think I'm in an action mood, and I think I just want balls to the wall action. So I think my double feature is going to be Shoot 'Em Up, the Clive Owen one, and Paul Giamatti is great in that one. And I think I'm going to go Crank. I think Crank and Shoot 'Em Up as 2 back to back. I'm just in a fun, excited mood. So
You're taking Red Bull straight to the eyes.
exactly. it's Friday night, Rue. We gotta get crazy up in here.
Taking Crank for
Saturday.
reason. All right, sounds good.
Oh, Saturday. I forgot what day it is. It's Saturday. Not Friday.
What is time?
What is time?
For a second. It's been a long pandemic.
Absolutely. Okay, guys, where can we find you? Where can the folks find you? I know is this the last show you're doing? I thought I heard that this might be the last chance to see the Fan Four together. You're closing it out. Well, give us your pitches, why they should draft you, and where can they find you if they want to speak to you more.
You can find me at Peggy B Ball across all the social media platforms that I am on. I host a show over on Featured Presentation Productions every Wednesday called Fantasy Film Fights. If you like drafts, you're going to like this show because what we do is we draft movie stuff. We take a random movie topic and we draft it fantasy style. This upcoming Wednesday is our 1-year anniversary. We started off with sports movies. We are doing sports movies part 2. So the first 25 that we drafted in that first episode, they're gone. You can't pick those. You got to pick a whole fresh new 25. So if you're interested in joining the families and you don't need to be a movie expert to be a part of this one, you just have to have a love for movies and be able to come up with a list of whatever topic we're drafting that week. So if you're interested, come on over. It's fun time.
Sounds cool. Sounds great. And Jacoby, how about yourself?
God, I wish I had cool stuff to promote and stuff, but I really don't. I'm just learning because now that I got drafted, or not drafted, now that I got put on the draft, I had to like start going on Twitter again. So my Twitter handle is jbancroft815, and so I found out my password. I can log in now, and I'm on Twitter, and I can like stuff, and I can follow people who follow me back. So find me on there. It's going to be a lot of fun, and watch all their shows that they're all about to promote because they're all awesome.
Fair enough. Good support. Christina.
You guys can find me on Twitter at Christina_VEE19. My DMs are open for any managers that want to wheel and deal last minute before the draft on Friday. I'll work really hard for you, and I promise to win at least one match, and I'll have a lot of fun doing it. And isn't that really what it's all about, guys? Let's just have some fun. But importantly, you guys can also follow me on my Digesting Cinema podcast that I do with my very good friend Aaron. To go along with Feature Presentation Productions Letterbox Challenge. It's a 52-week challenge. Every week is a new theme, and you pick a movie that you want to watch with it. So we're just going in order. We just did Top Gun, and now we're doing Blair Witch Project, so the next one will be the 2000s. If you want some recommendations, you can find all the Fan League 4 on Fantasy Film Fights with our recommendations for the whole challenge. But you guys can do it in any order that you want. You don't have to pick the movies that we're picking, but it's just something fun to pair along with the challenge if people wanted to watch the movies that we're watching too.
Very cool.
Sounds good. And last but not least,
you can find me at my name, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. On Twitter, as a Nick fan, I am Nick with a K, 888-221. Also, reviews on Instagram. Also, I'm part of a writing crew called Bite Size Breakdown on Instagram. We do reviews of TV shows, movies, in 100 words or less. Go follow that. And then I have my own YouTube channel, Yuri Reviews, URI-RU Views. Every other Monday, I do a show called One Gotta Stay. It's coming back for this year on Monday, where I give you 4 impossible choices to choose from. But instead of picking one that's gotta go, you pick one that stays and the work of the rest of them are gone. And you can take that however you want to talk about it. They're gone for everybody. They still exist, but you can never listen to them. You can say, pick because it's your favorite, pick it because it's better. Doesn't matter. And then you rank who would stay and then who would be second, who almost stayed, who would be third, and who's the first gone. I do it for music. I do it for movies. I do it for any different topics. This Monday coming up, thank you, Tony. This Monday coming up on One Gotta Stay, it's back to music. So I sometimes do 5, and I'm going to a neo soul hit where you have to choose between Maxwell, Music Soul Child, Erykah Badu, Jill Scott, or Lauryn Hill. One stays, the rest are gone. And you see people argue with each other. It's fun.
Very cool. Very cool.
We did get one last Streamlab in before we let you guys go. It's for you guys. D-Train again. Thank you, D-Train, for submitting these Streamlab. Do you guys find movies about troubled individuals to be the best movies of all time? Examples being Logan, Taxi Driver, and The Wrestler. I consider them better because they are more down to earth with real world problems. Just a random thought.
That's a good question. It's such a deep philosophical question we're going to get here. It's like we got starting at the different ends of the spectrum. Your first question is, what's your favorite Fast and Furious movie? And the last question is characters.
While you're thinking, do you want to say Swagler Winston's not exactly?
I said Lauryn Hill.
I've had 6 different responses in 10 minutes. It's been lovely. I love doing that show.
Yeah, are you free on Monday night? Maybe we're
right away.
I will attempt an answer at that. I think you identify with different movies for different reasons. I mean, there's reasons why I really identify with this random movie called Shag the Movie because this is one character Pudge in there. I identify with What's Eating Gilbert Grape because I have a brother who's autistic. I identify with A League of Their Own because I'm 6 feet tall and I identify with Dottie Henson. I identified with Becky the Icebox O'Shea because I was like a tomboy girl who was awkward and wanted boys to like her, but they didn't. They saw her as just one of the guys. And it's random. Different things in different movies can touch you in different ways, so you can't really answer that.
Yeah, I think it's so tough because like trouble. It's like maybe they make like on paper the most like just like stories, I guess, because you can craft such interesting narratives around them in order to put on a really compelling drama or comedy or whatever it is on screen. It's like if your character is not troubled, I guess if your character is perfect from start to finish, then it's not a very good movie, right? You want to see a troubled character grow, or you want to see a troubled character fail, depending on if they're good or bad. So that's tough. That's a good question, though.
I like that, yeah. Christina?
First, I want to say hi to my buddy Ed that keeps saying hi to me in the chat. Miss you, and I'm so sorry that we're not at a live event coming up in a week like we should be. Like we all should be at this point. So miss you. I think that's a tough one for me. Like a troubled character. I don't know. I'm in a shocking turn of events. I'm a very empathetic person. So like sometimes that's hard for me to watch. I can't, that's like rough sometimes for me. I like genuine stories. Like one of my favorite is Brooklyn. And it's just like, there's not like anything like major that's happening. You're just watching her story and her life unfold. And I just think it's so beautifully told. So I think it's just kind of like what Peggy was going with. You just have movies that just relate to you and that just touch you in certain ways. So I think it's just kind of everybody's opinion for that one.
Great.
I first want to say I love all the different responses for the one. I will not tell you which one I will choose because I'm saving that for tomorrow. Go ahead and check it out. But a lot of the greatest movies do come down to that. But it really is what connects to you. But a lot of the really bad movies also come down to that when you get too serious and there's no like those characters become one dimensional. Like you can create a disturbed character one dimensionally and have nothing else but that going for them, and then the movie is just like, I can't connect to this person at all. There's nothing redeeming. There's nothing, and you don't have to be redeeming to be a good character, but you can't just be one thing. So I feel like those are the movies that either are amazing or just you're like, I hate you. I hate this thing. Whoever wrote this, I'm sorry. I know you worked hard, but come on. And so it could go either way.
Those are great answers. I think they're all valid, definitely answers. Brittany Parker, the wrestler. I love Brittany in there, so good to have you in there. And finally, Ashley McCall. It's Maxwell, the women's work. Hello. So fair enough. Well, guys, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on. It was really great to get to talk to you guys, to get to see what you're all about. I mean, I know a little bit about all you guys, get to go do a little bit of a deeper dive. I wish you the best of luck. Hopefully you guys all get drafted, and then afterwards we'll have you on one at a time for maybe have you come on Chilled Action and have a long-term interview. That would be our goal. So if I would say anything last to say, we salute you guys. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see what happens next week, right?
Good luck, everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks for having
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for coming. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yep.
of course.
All right, and much love, everybody. I yelled back. Danny and Jake also say much love as well, just so you know. So. All right, guys, take care. We'll talk to you guys later on. Thank you. All right, Kelsey, we did that. Actually, what a great interview.
That was fun.
It was great seeing. Yep, great seeing them. I forget that Jake's back there doing. I'm usually pushing the buttons, and Jake's actually doing that for me. Thank you, Jake. But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun getting to know these guys. I think they have a good future ahead of them. I hope they get drafted. They find what they find what they're looking for, and somebody finds them, because it should be a lot of fun.
Hopefully, we help make a love match a little bit. There'll be a manager watching, being like, "Yeah, I'm going to draft them." So let's hope.
So we're going to move on to the second half. This is kind of an idea for Call to Action Live. We're going to do the interview section, and now obviously something big happened last night with the special free agency free agency special with everybody going down. What were your initial thoughts on it? Did it live up to your expectations?
I'll admit it started out a little slow. Everyone was staying where they were from. I'm like, it's just what the show's gonna be. So like I came in with expectations of like being wowed and shocked and gasping and moments, and then like for a little bit I'm like, that's not what's happening. So I'm just gonna like calm myself down. But
there
then
were a few moments that were like that. I got to be honest. There's a few ones in the beginning, but again, that's a testament to Christian's knowledge. I almost knew right away that you got to start with the easier ones that aren't going to be surprising. You kind of build up to the big ones. But I will say that it definitely had moments enough that made it well worth watching.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like I think they scheduled it out with who was coming when perfectly, because you're right. Like they kind of gave us that like sense of security for a little bit. We're like, okay, well, this person's staying, and we're kind of like starting to be like, okay. And then suddenly, just like the perfect timing, like right when you were starting to get to the point, you're like, okay, is anyone moving? Then it starts.
Right.
The trickle effect of surprises coming in and fake outs. Some of the fake outs were like, I really legitimately like, what the heck? Some of them like, there's no way that they're not going, so I don't believe this. But like, It was just like a perfect combination of teasing and slow burn, and then to the point where I'm sure we'll talk in depth about this one thing that happened. But this one thing that happened, I lost my freaking mind.
We'll get there. We'll definitely get there. I will say the best part of it was one of these things that we did in our, if you know, our patreon.com/call to action. We started our Patreon. I mentioned it earlier. One of the things we did was we actually did a watch along with our patrons. We had like 20, I think at least 20 people in there are watching with us, and we got to watch along, and we're all faking out. The funny thing, we were all talking about the fake outs. There's a lot of fake outs. They had this idea like we're going to do something different. We're going to do something different. No, we're just teasing you. I will say though that there was one fake out that beat them all, because he's the king of fake outs. Everyone pulling a Ben Bateman, and then Ben Bateman pulled a Ben Bateman. But listen, we'll get into that bit by bit. I think the easiest way we should do it is we are going to throw that graphic on there that's come up, and we'll come back and forth to it. We'll go through faction by faction and see what we think and who will come up to a decision about who won the draft, who lost the draft, maybe who's to be decided. And we'll go from there. We'll start right at the top there. He was in the chat earlier. Chandru, Polyama, and Lon Harris are all going back to Swag. I do know there was rumblings at a point that there was going to be breaking up. They were possibly going to break up Final Exam, and they were going to have Polyama find a new partner, perhaps, and perhaps Lon would be left out in the cold. There's talks about maybe Chandru jumping ship. I got to be honest, going into this, I didn't believe that Chandru was leaving. I knew Chandru was staying in my heart. I did think that Polyama might get a new partner. But at the end of the day, we kept Final Exam together. What are your thoughts on how that went down, and did Swag, is that a winning thing for Swag, or does Swag lose anything?
This came out pretty much the way I was anticipating. The only thing is I wasn't sure if, because I had heard those rumblings as well, whether Lon was going to stay or maybe like Ace would have filled that third spot or something like that. But I think this is a very solid starting out point. I love Final Exam. I love their dynamic together. I think they're a very solid team. I mean, of course you're going to keep Chandru. I mean, like he's got the belt right now. You want to keep the gold in your faction. So like, I think it was a very wise decisions. I really hope, I feel like Ace is a good fit in Swag, so I'm really hoping they're able to draft him pretty early, because I would like to get to see that relationship continue. But for what they did, I think Winston did a good job. I think that was a very good starting out point for his roster.
I do think that Swag had one of the most difficult choices. Everybody kind of concentrated on Shannon and her four, trying to get her 4 or 5 back together. I think Swag had just as much of a difficulty, because by picking the 3 people they picked and staying with what they stayed with, you had to release Ace, you had to release Liz, Shannon, Miller. There's a lot of potential champions. Both of them are potential champions that they had to just lose to free agency at that point to other teams. Ace didn't even make it picked by anybody. That surprised me. That's another overall surprising thing. 1 Star Wars player was kept. 1 main Star Wars player kept, and that's Alex Damon. That's most likely because he's also an IG player, but we'll get to the rock stars in a bit. I do think they did a good job. If I was Winston, would I have done anything differently? Again, what I want to put out there, what I don't see in a lot of analysis about this free agency special, I think people are like, oh, they should have done this. Oh, they should have done that. You got to understand that it takes 2 to tango. Like, personally, I think I might have tried to pitch keeping Liz, Shannon, Miller and teaming her up with Polyama, if that was a possibility. And I think that would be the better option. And that's no disrespect to Lon. I do think Lon's a great player. I just think Liz might be a little more connected, and Liz has a better shot at a singles title example. So that would give you more potential points. That's would be my thought process behind it. And I heard other people say that, but we don't know. Liz, Shannon, Miller signed away, and that might have been all. So we don't know what Winston's primary or main would have been, because we're never going to find that out, probably, unfortunately. But so I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what goes on with that. I do think Winston did a good job with what he was given. I would have done a little bit something different, but I don't think he made a bad choice, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I completely understand. Makes sense.
All right. And 7 Shepard says Ace will definitely be in Swag. He won't be in high demand. Dimilanta, Laura, the Dragon Con players, and possibly even Scrimshar or Wiser gets, so Winston will scoop him up. You could say it's Wiser. That's your opinion on that. But I don't know if everybody shares that opinion. I don't know if the managers share that opinion.
Yeah.
I could easily see a Kate Mulligan with the extra draft pick she has now completely pulling and getting an Ace. I could totally see that happen. But it's a chance that Swag picks him up again. Absolutely. I mean, it gets down to that. I think he probably will go back to Swag at that point. But I wouldn't say it's a foregone conclusion.
Yep,
so
I agree.
let's see. So let's go to the next faction we got in here. We'll go over to the right there. We got the stars. I'll take it. It's another one I want to talk. We'll talk about all the ones that kind of stayed exactly the same first. And that one, the stars, that to me was probably the most foregone conclusion. I mean, you knew Roxy was going to try, even if it didn't work out, Roxy was going to try to keep the odd couple and Alex people. That's the way she went, and it was no surprise. Although, I do have to admit, I did buy into the possibility that Snyder would book and go from there, because
I did too.
I mean, it didn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Like, why would you give up the belts to go work for Dagnino when you have the belts with somebody? Why? It makes no sense at all, right? But then Snyder doesn't always do the sensible thing. Snyder's a wild.
That's
he likes to watch the world burn, right? So it's thinking in the back of my mind. I was like, I don't think it's going to happen, but just maybe. But at the end of the day,
That's the thing. When the first rumors started about that, I'm like, there is no way. And then just that screenshot, that message Christian posted, like no comment. I'm like, that was just like that one like little needle of doubt. I'm like, but could he? So like the stars turned out what I thought. I really thought it was gonna be Odd Couple and Damon for sure. But my suspicion, like if Snyder were to have booked it, I thought maybe Jericho would have slipped into that third spot just to keep that like popular celebrity element. The audience, I mean, him and Roxy, their chemistry together is awesome and things like that. But I'm not surprised at all by how her roster went. I think it's a very solid decision. I'm like, keep the gold in your. I think that's a very good strategy. Keep the gold in your faction. You already got it. Keep it there. And then, I mean, like, what else? What else could she have done? Really, like, I feel like that's like the decision to make.
It was an easy decision for her to make, and plus, Damon is probably a perfect keep for her because not only is Star Wars and like other points being elevated, Damon's going to play more this year than he did last year, and he's going for IG, so that's another great idea for them as well. Really quick, we had a Streamlab. Mike Deacon, if Kaiser takes Harper _1, you all owe me a beer. That's honestly, I would not put that past Kaiser. He likes drafting. He likes drafting, swinging for the fences on people like, Robert Parker, just like last year, Robert Parker, right? He went big and go home, and he needs a Star Wars players that could be a potential #1 draft pick. I wouldn't be surprised. I definitely think he's going to go for someone like a Harper, whether it's #1 or not. We'll find out.
I'm so excited. We'll see.
Exactly. All right, let's move on now. We're gonna talk about the Dungeon Lab later on. I think we'll get to. Obviously, we had corruption kept their 3 at this point. We'll get to the other part later on when we talk about the den. Let's jump to the other more obvious one, Koi and the quirky Mercs, and keeping Shazam together and keeping Kevin Smith. Now, to me, obviously, again, Shazam was a no-brainer. Shazam likes quirky Merc. Shazam likes Koi. Koi likes Shazam. Shazam likes each other, and they're a championship level team, and they're both contenders for the singles belt. No brainer. The question comes in about is the #3 spot. A lot of people, I heard some people saying, "Oh, she should have signed Mara." Mara has a championship match, and Kevin Smith is a celebrity who's not going to play very much. He probably could have gotten Kevin Smith later on in the draft potentially. And it might be one of those things where Kevin Smith doesn't want to play for anybody else but the quirky Mercs. And that comes into play whether people like to admit it or not. I gotta be honest with you. However, we don't know about Mara. Like a lot of people said that. Like Kevin Smith over Mara seems odd. Yeah, it does to a degree, but perhaps Mara didn't want to go back to the quirky Mercs. We don't know. I mean, granted, she didn't sign anywhere else. That does throw a little bit of a monkey wrench in it, but there's a lot more going behind the scenes than we ever know about. I think that's something that's in mind.
But yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say like that. I could honestly probably seeing it be a Mara choice. Mara is such a strong player. She also seems like the type of player where I think she can thrive really in any faction. I think like as long as the overall dynamic of the group is doing well and things like that, she'll do fine. She's a very solid player all on her own. I think Kevin Smith does well with someone like Koi. I think Kevin knows what he knows and he's gonna do something like that. But I think like the banter and the excitement and getting him like pumped up to play and like that, there's like the promos like that. I think there's nobody that's a better fit for him than Koi is. So I can see why maybe like it was a thing like, hey, I want to play this year, Christian, but I would really like to stick with Koi. And so that being the decision, like, okay, we'll just have him make sure you get signed in free agency so you're secure in that, if that makes sense.
I mean, we don't know. Maybe that is that kind of thing. Beyond that, I mean, I guess if I was Koi, would I have done something different? I would have explored. I would explore different for sure. Depending on what I could have done, I might have tried to get a more solid IG player, or a solid Star Wars player. Well, probably not Star Wars because the way it shook out, and I know partially that is because everybody decided not to keep their Star Wars players. There's a lot of Star Wars players out there now. We do have pretty much the whole division already out there, plus the incoming DragonCon player, plus the incoming like Star Wars Newsnet people and others as well. So I think you can get that in the draft, but there's a lot of other people that you could possibly could have gone with. Someone like a Video Drew who's going to play more. Someone like I don't know, like we still have the Machine out there, Silverstream's out there. Some people like that still could be potentially have more matches than Kevin Smith and have more points for your faction that way. But bless you, honey. my wife. Hi, Kim. So I don't know. It seems to me that I think that Coy made an okay decision. I give it a passing grade. The Shazam was a no-brainer. Kevin Smith is a kind of like a thing. I don't know if we know all the details enough to really give it a solid grade or not.
Another thing about Kevin Smith, I think, is a selling point for having him like secured in your faction is his amazing following. If you are trying to bring people in the Schmodown, Kevin Smith is one of the best assets Schmodown currently for sure has to do so. And like, especially with the new merch and things like that, like having him in your faction, maybe he pulls out a quirky merch shirt on his show and things like that. People ask him in the comments, what is that? And you're just bringing a fan base to not only the Schmodown, but to your faction itself. I mean, the popularity is a thing that's important in the Schmodown. Like if your faction is beloved, it helps you get more matches. It helps you get like the morale going, things like that. So maybe his star power is part of it.
Could be. It could be. Well, it could well be. Especially the announcement about the merch. That's an interesting.
I have a dungeon shirt on the way, or hoodie, and I'm so excited.
Me too. All right, let's move on to the next faction. We will break down a little bit. Really, about the. Let's go with the usual suspects. Let's go there. Okay. They made some big moves. Obviously, they're one of the factions that went all out and went for something. They went and signed Ethan Irwin back, which was big. We definitely know through the grapevine and the people talking and everything else that the exchange made a push for Irwin. And supposedly Bateman said he sabotaged that deal afterwards. He kind of said, how did that Irwin deal work out for you? So Bateman obviously did something behind the scenes and the machinations to make sure that didn't happen. So Irwin goes back to the suspects. And I think that's the person that they had to keep. That was the number one person you had to keep. As far as the rest of the team, you need someone to team with Irwin. Obviously, Andrew Guy is still TBD. They said that's what Christian said. He's not eligible at this point. He's TBD. He's still, as far as we know, he's still in the back of a van somewhere. We don't really have, as far as Schmodown. The last time we saw him in the Schmodown, back of a van. I'm a little concerned myself.
I'm a little worried.
We have to see what happens with that. So you got to find a teammate for him. And not only did he find one teammate, he found two potential teammates.
Yeah.
Now, from what I gathered, he's going to go with Liz Shannon Miller. That's the common perception. But the guy brought back the Godfather. He brought back the Godfather. And Drew McQueenie being back was a huge, I don't know who said it earlier, that was a huge mark out moment for me. He retired, obviously, this year, and I miss seeing him. He's a great competitor, great personality. And Seven suspected, he suspected he was coming back when they heard the big-time players coming back. Yeah, it made sense. It made sense to me, too, when I heard that, obviously. He's one of the few players that coming back would be a big-time player that would make that kind of noise. And, he was in the chat earlier on, so I was like, it's going to happen. But it still means it's still a big deal.
It was.
The interesting part about that, which I didn't suspect, I did say that he went called out Bateman, right, directly, saying I was supposed to go with Bateman, and now basically fuck you. Now I'm coming after Bateman, right?
Yep. That was probably my favorite part of his return. Not only I was super excited to hear the Godfather music, have him show up. I'm like, yes, he's back. But there is a new fire lit under him. He's angry. He wants revenge. And I mean, a nice, jolly, happy Drew McWeenie is already a scary threat. An angry, revengeful coming after you, Drew McWeenie. Ben, I love you. You got to. Good luck. Yeah, he's coming for you. He's coming for you.
Now the only problem there is now is who does he team with? Who do you team him with? I mean, if I am Sam Levine, I would definitely consider an Irwin McQueenie team up because that's dangerous as well. But I don't think you can go wrong with any of that combination, to be honest with you. They all have good potential to cover each other's various holes and go from there.
Yeah. I agree.
But he's gonna have to draft somebody. Sam's gonna have to draft somebody big. And this brings up the weakness in this draft. You look at it and just say those are three big names. Those are three big gets. They've covered themselves with singles and teams. But then you gotta find IG. You gotta find Star Wars. And that's all. And finding a second team up for whoever you don't team up with them.
Yep.
You can't shoot him up. I don't think Drew McQueen's the kind of guy who's going to want to work with a rookie right away. I think he's going to want to work with somebody established. That's my instinct on that. Yep. I could be wrong, but I mean, that's something I would think. I did mention before, Star Wars players are plentiful, so they might be able to pull off something a little bit later on down the line. But there's no IG. Like the IG players are a little less, and they have nobody for IG.
Yeah.
So this is why I would grade him a little bit lesser on it. It's one of those kind of smoke and mirrors. It looks really better than it is. He's got to have a very big time winning draft if he's going to get a good passing grade for me.
Yeah. I think his next draft pick is critical. I do like what he did, because I honestly, how I've kind of, if my mindset of what he did with the 3 he drafted is, I got these 3 solid players that I all know, like each other, get along with, like that. Let's see who clicks well as a team. You know what I mean? Like, you got options. So like, let's say if you wanted, Erwin and Drew to go together, and it just, they didn't balance each other well. Like, they're just like, they didn't have that like vibe, but Liz did with one of them. Like, you have options to kind of play with. I think honestly, the best option, in my personal opinion, would be if you're gonna draft somebody, try to draft somebody that's a double threat as IG and could be in singles, even if they haven't played in one or the other, if they are willing to try something like that. At least that way you get your IG player, but you have an established player that has kind of some street cred to then be able to maybe pair up with the other person. So like, just like trying to make very strategic picks on who you pick, not just pick people for one faction, but like, okay, what the whole thing they bring to the table, what are things they would consider bringing to the table if we worked with them on it, and things like that.
And Peggy says it's just on there. Washington still gets it all depends on the manager's strategy, what they want to focus on. What is the best shot at winning that faction title? And that's right. That's right. I mean, you had the strategy that Kaiser had last year. Kaiser had a strategy to try to corner the IG. It obviously failed miserably, unfortunately. But I got to be honest, I still respected the strategy. To me, it was a swing for the fences. He took a big swing. He missed. But I like a ballsy strategy. It's like a money ball. It's like money balling in a way. You got to find that whatever strategy can make you win. I don't know if that doesn't deter him from trying it again. He might try it again to corner the IG or something to that effect, because some things are different now. And we'll get to that talk later on. But so Sam has the number 2 pick. Theoretically, if Kaiser's not going to go the way of the IG, you would have someone like Amara available right away, who's got a championship match.
Yep.
But at the same time, somebody could trade for Kaiser could trade away that number 1 pick, and somebody else who wants an IG player could sneak up and grab it. So Sam's got to be prepared that he's got to have at least 2 solid choices known right away, because if that first person is not there, he's got to go with the backup. I personally, if I was Sam, I think I might. I think I'd wait on Star Wars. And I'd either go for a solid IG. I think I'd probably try to go for a solid IG and then worry about a singles player later on and figure it out.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay. But so basically, yes. Did he have a successful draft? Did Sam have a successful draft? Is he putting himself in a position to win? Potentially. It's all going to be about how he drafts later on. So we'll have to see how that goes at this point. Let's move on to the next one. I guess we'll look at the exchange next. The exchange. Okay. This was a very interesting development. You had, obviously, he blew up the exchange. He exploded like out of left field. He gets rid of Dan Merle. Gets rid of Ben Bateman. And then so it was like he went from having all these players he could keep, and yet he didn't keep almost anything. He only kept Roka and the Barbarian. No Riley, which I can understand. That Riley's definitely had his moments where he's not quite the championship winning Mark Riley he was before. He has had some struggles in the newer years, the later years, I should say. But no Dimolanta, which to me was a minor surprise. Again, did Dimolanta want to come back to Gucci? We don't know. We really don't know. Yep. Roka and the Barbarian are there together. Obviously, Barbarian, from what I've gathered, like he'll tell you, Barbarian has been working diligently behind the scenes. From what I've gathered, he's been talking to every rookie. So I think this was kind of a no-brainer that Barbarian was sticking around with Roka at that point. But he picks on JTE and brings him out of retirement. Now, this is a interesting pick. You're going back to somebody who was a legend at one point back in the day. He has not played consistently. So he did a great job in the horror free for all, but he didn't really he's not really a known commodity at this point. He's rested, I can't say resting on, but he's living on his legendary run with the Patriots, which some people have argued is not really as big of an accomplishment as it used to be. People said they played in a weaker time. They played when it was a watered down division. I don't know if that's true or not. I still think their run was pretty legendary overall. I mean, you can't not talk about that and say it's a big deal. But I do think it's enough. It's a little bit of a risk where I would not have picked him up in free agency. I would have waited. I think you take him in the draft later on, because I think you can get him in the draft later on potentially.
I agree. I'm always super excited to see JT be drafted or signed. Sports, because I like him as a player. I'm excited to see him come back. But you're right. I feel like he probably, especially since people probably the general managers didn't know that he was that interested in returning possibly. So do we know how many people were chatting him up? He might have been a pretty safe draft later, like, because if people weren't really sure how committed he was to coming back and things like that. Mm-hmm. So you could have saved him for the first 1 or 2 rounds during the draft and gotten your Star Wars player, gotten another solid single teams player to pair up with somebody, things like that. That someone that is actively been playing in the Schmodown for a while, so people know that they're a hot commodity at the moment. So I do agree. I think he could have waited till the draft. I think he's great for Stock Exchange. I think it's a perfect match and perfect timing. I don't think it needed to be now.
I mean, it's definitely fun. JT and Gucci obviously have a history together. They're going to have a lot of fun together. They always did. I think it's interesting seeing Rocha and JT on the same team, considering their history of being together. I almost think it's almost too much for them to work together. I think you're going to have to see Barbarian and JT, I think, if anything. But what I want to throw out there, and I don't think Gucci will like me throwing this out there, and he'll call me out on it, I'm sure, but that's okay. Was JT a desperation pull? Did Gucci reach out to people? Did Gucci make a pitch for Irwin? Irwin turned him down. Did Gucci make a pitch to Bateman to bring him back? And Bateman said, nah. Did Gucci try to get him to try? Did Gucci even try to patch things up with Merle? Probably not. Did Gucci reach out to McQueenie? Did Gucci try to get McQueenie back? And McQueenie said no. Is JT? I want to know where JT was on their pecking order. Is JT the 5th or 6th choice? Is that a desperation pull where no one else wants to sign with Gucci? I mean, he won't admit it. He never would admit it, and I don't blame him. But I'm going to throw it out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's very believable because look at the last half of the season. They had it just nothing but drama and explosions and conflict and managers missing games that they were supposed to manage. Mm-hmm. If I was trying to, like, with the draft, it's a little different because, like, I'm going through rotations of that. But I'm picking you to be my manager. I'm signing with you. I want somebody that I know I'm going to get you 100%. Right. And I don't think that's what people are expecting from Gucci this right now, just because of how the last 6 months have gone for his faction.
Barbarian was very defensive of the pick. He was, and I think he might have been protesting too much. I do think perhaps. And JT is going to call me out because I know he's been calling out the after shows for mentioning this. And I have nothing but respect for JT. I love JT. I think he's a legend in the league for a reason. I think he's a fun player, good player. I just think this was a safe pick for I think after Gucci couldn't get a lot of plan A, plan B, plan C, you go to someone you know and trust, and JT's coming back. And it's not to say that JT doesn't have potential. JT, if he puts his mind to it, he hadn't had many movies coming out this year. He could be really studying his ass off. He said he's been studying and wants to work on it. I think it's a safe pick with potential, better than picking a safe pick that you didn't know anything about. At least you know you can work with the guy.
Yep, he's worked with them in the past. They know they vibe well, things like that. I do agree. I do think it's a good pick, but I do feel like other options probably were played with first.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, and that's a part of our manager. It's part of our manager's job. We'll have to see what the Barbarian. What Gucci will do. As far as that goes, love you guys. Nothing but love for the Stock Exchange.
We love Gucci here.
But we'll have to see how it works out. I mean, he was manager of the year for a bunch of years for a reason. I mean, he knows what he's doing to a degree. He's a big performer. He gets the best out of his people. So we'll have to see. All right, let's move on to, I guess the den would be. Oh yeah, we'll do the den next. I think we're gonna say the last one for last. The den was interesting. I have heard Kate Mulligan getting a lot of flack for what she did. I am less on that bandwagon than some people, but I understand the viewpoint. Tom retired, and or not retired, but he's taking the year off. I think Tom would have been a definitive sign if he would come back. Then Kate would have signed him if that was okay.
Yeah.
I think bringing Preston back was a smart pull. I think Preston is someone that she enjoyed working with outside of the initial mistake that she dwells on sometimes more than she should, I think, because it was the first time she was managing.
Yep.
Paul Preston's hungry. He had that kind of bad year. He's definitely due for a turnaround. He had a great year the year before, and he's not. So I think he's hungry. I think he wants to prove himself, being number one. And then you pick a Goddard, which I think Goddard, again, was a solid person to keep. He's a singles player, he's a team player, and he's an IG player. He did well in all three. He was a rookie of the year status early on in the year until he basically stopped playing for various reasons for the Den. That's always been questionable to me. What happened there? He kind of said it wasn't necessarily his decision, but it was his decision that he said he didn't want to. He wanted to get other people play and everything else. So I don't know the whole scenario. And maybe it could be very well that people don't want to admit, they don't want to keep things close to the vest. And that's perfectly fine. You should keep things close to the vest. I appreciate that to a degree as far as that goes. But without knowing why he stopped playing, then it's hard to make that determination. Mm-hmm. So all I can go on is the matches he did play, and he had a solid year. Pairing him up with Preston, that's a cool team. That could be a potentially good team. I wouldn't mind seeing that as long as there's no birds in the building, in the studio, no caws.
No caws.
Right.
I love that's a bird of prey question too, because it always brings it back as a birds of prey question. I'm like,
very much so. But that's of course that's the first part of her special. Those two, I think, were. I don't want to say they were not necessarily newsworthy, nothing shocking about those. They're fine. They're good. They're good people. I mean, I wonder if Kate made a pitch to anybody else. And we know Preston did. Preston called up, according to Roca and the exchange, that Preston called them about trying to maybe swing a deal that way. So maybe Kate did the same thing. Did Kate make an overture to Bateman? Did Kate make an overture to Merle? Did Kate make an overture to Arnold? We don't know. Without knowing that, it's always hard to judge. We can only judge on what happened. And what happened was he gets Preston and Goddard. That's not a bad twosome to get. It's not a bad setup. Yep. Then comes the third part of it. Marisol McKee. Who did a very good job faking us out anyway.
She was one of the better fake outs.
Yes, she was. Because, I mean, she can go on and say everything she wants, but the fact that the trade happened so quickly between then and then on the rundown it happened, obviously this was something that was set up beforehand, and Kate and Shannon had worked it out. Mm-hmm. I got to give Shannon, this is where we'll talk about the corruption angle as well. I got to give Shannon credit. She said she was going to get Marisol McKee and Laura Kelly back. She got Marisol McKee back, at least one of them back in a strong way. A lot of people were mad at Kate, like bringing corruption back together and giving Shannon what she wanted, so to speak. I don't think it's necessarily a bad deal. Getting more draft picks for this outstanding rookie class, there's a lot of talent in there. You already have a guy with Paul Preston who can possibly be contending for a singles belt. He plays well on teams. You got Goddard who does IG. He does singles and teams. Star Wars and IG are the things. You get more picks out of it. You could potentially come away with some diamonds in the rough, so to speak. Yep. So I think this is one of those things where it's going to be like we have to see how she drafts before you really make a solid judgment on her call. The only thing we can say is that on the Gucciverse, Dagnino was saying that he thinks that Kate could have gotten more from Shannon than just the two picks. What do you think about that?
Okay, I have to admit, I don't know if anyone's aware. I am not a sports person. I don't understand trades. I do not understand snake drafts and things. I don't understand any of this stuff. So when I first heard the trade, I didn't really know what that meant. I didn't know like what the advantage or disadvantage was, things like that. I will admit some people have talked. I'll say this: talked at me because I have no idea what I'm talking about, so I didn't contribute. But talked at me about like what the pros and cons of this trade are, stuff like that. To me, it sounds like a solid plan. Marisol's amazing, but I don't know how much Shannon was willing to risk the rest of her draft just for one player. Mm-hmm. I think she made a very solid decision, in my opinion, with what she chose, but I don't think she would have given much more because that's giving a lot for one player. Like maybe if there was an opportunity to get a current belt holder, Dan Murrell, something like that, maybe you do that little extra mile. But a player that does not currently have a belt and things, a newer player, things like that, I don't feel like you push that much at it, if that makes sense.
Peggy coming in hot here and absolutely accurate on this one. The Bears can absolutely fleece in the trade with the Bears. Yes, absolutely, 100%. Okay,
good to know.
The 49ers. Yeah, it was the 49ers. Yes. Oh, Mr. Trubisky. But you're right. You're right. And I don't know how much Shannon would have given because the same time that Gucci was mentioning that, you said something like he offered so many picks or something to that effect, and Shannon turned him down. Well, Shannon turned him down because there was so many draft picks. Mm-hmm. So what was the level Shannon was willing to go to? We don't really know what that level was. Maybe Kate asked for one more pick and Shannon turned it down. Kate had some struggles, and there was ideas Kate was mentioned as like, obviously, again, it came down to like that big blunder at the beginning. Some people are questioning whether or not she was ready for it. I think she's ready now. I think after having your experience, I think she's ready to go in a way she couldn't have been when thrust into duty a week or two before the draft last year.
Yeah.
I don't know if she had the potential to draw a lot of people to her league to sign with her. They might not have wanted to sign with her necessarily, so maybe she has to go deep in the draft. And so if that's true, then she made a good choice. Sign Marisol, get those 2 extra draft picks, and now you have 4 draft picks in the first 2 rounds, and then you can get your bulk of your talent through the draft, which there are going to be plenty of people,
pretty good
people. Especially in IG and Star Wars. So we'll have to see what happens. It's an interesting pick with that. That's an interesting point. Shannon could have drafted quality replacement for Marisol and Laura at 8 and 9. And that's where the decision has to come in. How loyal are you to your team? How loyal are you to the people who got you there? Is that important to you? It's obviously important to Shannon. It's very important to Shannon. There's a potential for it being too important for a manager. Because that's what happens in sports ball. I think like to call it all the time. Sometimes the team will get too comfortable with the guy that got you there, and they take a couple extra years on them. So it's kind of an interesting call. Yeah. Shannon's going to roll the dice and go with who got her there initially, and I get that. Another thing you have to throw in, I mentioned this. I can't remember where I mentioned this, but maybe part of this was for Adam Collins. Adam Collins seemed very happy with Marisol last year.
He did.
Want to play with anybody else. So maybe you sacrifice a little bit and go, okay, let's make my singles champion, my rookie of the year, and maybe make him happy.
Make him happy, yep. I could totally see that. So
now I do think this seals the deal that Laura Kelly is not going to be coming back to
Shannon will have to be either super lucky or have another deal going off somewhere where she's giving off more draft picks for this year or next year, or
I don't think she has enough
something.
I don't think she has enough picks left, and all of her picks are now in the lower rounds, and so Laura Kelly is not. So, and shouldn't have a pick until that lower round. So I honestly don't see a way that Laura Kelly comes back unless she gets really creative with a 3-way deal. But then I don't know. I think that's difficult. We have to start talking about draft picks for next year. And to be honest with you, if Shannon starts going to draft picks for next year, that's not a good idea.
I'd agree.
Laura Kelly, a Star Wars player, as much as I love Laura Kelly, I don't think Laura Kelly that kind of mortgaging of the future, so to speak.
Exactly, because you are risking a future season for your current season, and you might have been just fine with what your current season was going to be without that. So, yeah, I definitely hope no future draft picks and future season perks get traded for this season, because that does not make sense to me either.
Especially for Shannon at this point. So, I missed this. Actually, Jake says there's she didn't Roxy. I didn't get a chance to hear all of Roxy. I didn't see the part, but I'm I don't know. So what is the theory, Jake? Just start in the chat. I'm kind of curious at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know. See, she says she wouldn't be acting as confident deal was in place. People generally didn't want to trade with her in the first place. She got Kate to do it, but a lot of the managers I've talked to don't want to deal with her.
They wanted to draft them just to punish Shannon. I mean, Shannon, they won. Shannon and Corruption won the season. Why would you want to help and placate the people that beat you if you don't have to? Like, you don't have to.
I'll be honest, and Seven, like, if Laura did end up coming back to Corruption somehow, I can't say I'd be super shocked because Shannon has shown she's willing to go the extra mile. I just don't see how that works. But maybe that's why she's a winning championship faction little manager at this point, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Jake is hopefully writing that in there about
faster
about the thing, the trade in place possibly, or the Roxy theory, which I wish I had been able to stay around for. But let's get right into it. There's one last faction we can talk about before we go back to that at this point. Which he doesn't remember. That's okay. It's plausible, but he doesn't remember it. Okay, that's fine. We got the dungeon, which obviously was the most surprising overall moves. Not necessarily with Ben Bateman. I know a lot of people had pitched Ben Bateman going to the dungeon because it made sense in a lot of ways. Because if you knocked out, you look at the factions as they were, even beforehand, you knew Roxy wasn't going to get him. You knew Corruption obviously wasn't going to get him. He wasn't going back to the exchange no matter how much he protested. You knew that Coy wasn't going to do it probably. So really only a couple of things made sense. And then you match up the point that, or you add on to the point that he's actually pretty solid friends with Kaiser and Smasher. It just made a lot of sense. The idea... You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Jake never is the worst. He's done a lot of good job killing it over the years at live events with trades of shots, right?
We've all killed our memory at live events.
But
I miss that.
Me too. And one last thing, also, and something that's exactly true. I mean, she's hell bent on getting Laura, but to be honest, there's so many quality players you can get in the draft at a Star Wars level. So I don't know if she should be so hell bent. Hopefully, she's dialed back down on that. It's a lot of talk right now. Maybe she's just doing it so she wants to just be this loyal person. That's the way I kind of say. I tried to do my best to work out. Maybe next year.
Yep.
But moving on, like I said, we're moving on to the dungeon. Bateman going there. We kept Parker. That's the easiest one. I think that was an easy choice.
I was almost 100% sure that was happening because
Smets loves Parker. Kaiser loves Parker.
They all love each other so much. That one was not a surprise for me. I would have been very disappointed had Parker gone somewhere else. I just think that's such a perfect fit. And
I will say, yes, Danny, yes, that's what we are. We are now called to Kaiser or called to the dungeon. And they call that. We love the Action Army. Always gonna be Action Army, but the Action Dungeon's always been kind of Action Army adjacent. Let's be honest.
I have a T-shirt that says Dungeon Head and Action Army right beside it because that's just how close we are.
We're friends with Smets and Kaiser as well. There's actually, I wish I had the live video at one point. There's a live video that I think Late to the Party took at the end of the spectacular when Bateman won the title and Smets won the IG title, and he was out there with us, and all I did was come out and smash drone it.
Action Army!
Because he's one of us. He knows that. So we love that. We love that. So you're going to see a lot of it. I don't know if all of us have signed on board yet. I'm pretty sure, but at least these two here. And I think most everybody else is all here for a dungeon podcast here. We're going to back the dungeon all the way. So yeah, 100%. Smets and Kaiser are big action guys. That's exactly what it is. They love the action guys. Yeah. If you ever want to go have some fun, watch Go to Action Industries and see when Smets and Kaiser do the Century Club.
Oh, it's so good.
It's a lot of fun. It's so good. But I digress. Going back to Bateman being in the dungeon, and then you bring on Dan Merle in the dungeon. Dan fucking Merle. Now, Christian can hate it all he wants, and other people can hate it all they want. I did say this. I kind of one thing I did want to call out. I didn't call Bateman Merle, but everybody's like, "Oh, Bateman wants to be the number one player. He wants to be the 1A. He wants to be." Bateman wants to win.
Yes.
He wants a faction championship. He wants a belt. He wants that team's belt, which he's never had.
Yep.
you go with the best player you can get, the best teammate you can get. Ben and Dan are going to work well together. They already are working well together.
Yep.
I mean, they want to go to war. They both hate John Roca again. Both hate Bobby Gucci again.
Circled all around.
Drew McQueenie being a vengeful guy, angry. I mean, so Ben's gonna have to deal with McQueenie as well. But I gotta tell you, Ben wants to kick ass all over the place, and that's what he did. He gets a partner that can do it. So you sign a Ben Bateman, you sign a Dan Murrell, you sign a Robert Parker. I do think that Kaiser wins the draft because you have in Ben Bateman potential singles champion, potential teams champion.
Yep.
Dan Murrell, a potential singles champion, potential team champion, and he's throwing his hat into the IG ring. We'll have to see how that goes. You have Robert Parker, a potential IG champion. So the only thing they're lacking is a Star Wars player.
They have Ben.
That's true. In 60 days.
60 days, Ben's going to win.
They're going to have a potential Star Wars champion, right? So, I mean, that's all the things. All the pieces are in place. But the one thing they do is to have a more dedicated Star Wars player. That's the one thing that's plentiful in the draft at this point.
There's a lot of great choices.
So, you don't think Ben's been studying them? You don't think Ben's been Ben, the guy who has changed the way studying goes in the Schmodown? You don't think he's been watching every single Star Wars player and seeing what they can do? You don't think he's probably reached out and talked to everybody already? The guy has a cell phone bill that must be out of this world at this point because he just
always beeping. It's just every 5 seconds. Oh, there's another person. Oh, there's another person. How do you keep that many conversations straight?
So I wouldn't be surprised to see him take a big rookie, big chance in a big time rookie. Mm-hmm. But either way, they're set up now to have that happen. They get a Star Wars player, they're all set. Then they can fill out the roster almost any way they want because they have everything else covered. The only thing that's interesting, not going it's interesting, the interesting aspect to me is the people that they had to let go. Sorry, something flew on me there. I'm just coughing up a storm here, so I apologize for that. I'm so sore throat. It's been working so hard. So we have people that are solid players that had to say goodbye to the dungeon and these temporarily.
Yep.
Eric Zipper. Kaiser loves Eric Zipper. Eric Zipper has made great progress. He's knocking on the door to be a next level player. I mean, he took Ethan Irwin to the final round last time pretty well. He's a solid enough IG guy. He could be a potential winner for anybody. Will he make it back to the dungeon? I don't know. We'll have to see. Adam Witt, another solid player. He just hasn't lit the world on fire, obviously, but he's a solid Star Wars player. If you watch his matches, he had a great match. He's lost his matches, but he's been in the match the whole time. He has potential. He's also had these matches that he could potentially be good on as well. Mm-hmm. Video Drew had a great end of year when he actually had a perfect game at the end of the year.
Absolutely. And Video Drew also, Kaiser's commented that she helps behind the scene managing and kind of stuff like that too. She's a very good resource in those kind of ways as well. So yeah, I could definitely see them trying to get Drew back for sure.
And I don't know. Can pretty easily, maybe, because you might see a lot of people concentrating on Star Wars and IG early. Maybe they can sneak in and get those. It's potential, but I do think it's potential somebody else could take them as well. According to some reports we've heard, Drew would like to stay in the dungeon to the point where she might. I mean, I don't know if she'd want to go anywhere else, but I mean that's the draft. You got to play where you're taking, and you'll get convinced potentially. You don't want to sit out. So I don't know. We'll have to see where that goes. But at the same time, none of those players, all the people I mentioned, Zipper, Drew, and Adam Witt, they're not going to be the ones you're going to say, I can't take it, Dan Murrell. I can't take it, Ben Bateman, because I have these guys. You got to do it.
Yep,
and when you have those people, that's when you got to keep Robert Parker as the third, because he's your number one IG guy at that point. With Spence on the shelf for a year, at least playing. From what I've heard from Kaiser and everything else, Spence is going to be helping out as much as he can, behind the scenes and studying and everything else. And
he loves the game. He can't stay away.
Really. JJ Monahan, good to see you out there, man. I will say, if Ben did win the Star Wars belt, it would be an insane run to see 5 belts between 2 players in the same faction. It won't happen, but crazy idea. That would be something very, very crazy.
And Ben would never let us sleep on the fact he won the Star Wars belt with the 60 days.
Never.
We'll never be allowed to pick it.
I'd actually have to quit Action Industries at that point, I think, because I wouldn't be able to handle him talking about that all the time as much as he would. But oh wow, and so I do think not for round 4. That's a little bit of a thing. I think a lot of people actually rate Zipper a lot higher than that. I think a lot of managers I've talked to rate Zipper as a guy who's still on the rise, and they really can get him as a potential sleeper, especially because he's played in the league.
And he works hard.
More rookies and people who haven't played the game as a lot. So I think you might be wrong. I think you might go earlier, maybe around 3 or maybe even 2. So I'll just say, I could totally see Kate. I know Kate had mentioned at one point or another that she would like to have him on the 10. So that's another person you could see him reaching for at that point.
Yep.
So I mean, that's the thing is me. I think if you look at it again as we wrap up, I do think the dungeon was the clear winners, and that's not just my bias, but
I do agree.
I do think the other winners, if you're going to call them potential winners, would be Swag. They couldn't lose. Stars couldn't lose with keeping their players.
Yep.
Corruption, though, big winner. 4 out of the 5 players she wanted are back in the fold.
Yep.
And right now, that's good. So let's
That's
see.
good.
Laura, Ben Rayner, thank you again, Ben. Laura at Den or Dungeon, maybe. Potentially.
Yeah.
Very potentially. If I had to pick between those two, I think she would go the Den. That's my thoughts on that, I think.
I agree. All I know is I hope a more heel-based group gets her, because I love heel Laura. I mean, I loved face Laura too, but she just has reached new heights of amazing with her promos. So whoever gets her, keep her heel. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, who do we think is going in the first 5 picks? Well, that's a big question. I don't know if necessarily right. I think Mara is gone.
I think Mara for sure.
I think you're going to see. I think you might see Demilana go in the first 5 picks, depending on somebody wants to grab Star Wars at that point. I think you're going to get. I wouldn't be surprised. Who else is out there that didn't get taken? Ace could be in the first 5 picks.
I think it's gonna be a lot of Star Wars in the first 5. I think everyone kind of secured their singles and teams and maybe IG the first in the free agency, and now they're going for their Star Wars player. So I think a lot of the first 5 will be Star Wars.
All right, good. Let me see what the order is. It all kind of depends at this point who the order is. Okay, we have. All right, so we got Dungeon first, which will probably be Star Wars potentially, but it could be Star Wars. It could be IG still as he does that, or it could be another singles player. We don't know. Demilana might be number 1. That would leave suspects. I think would grab Mara at that point. I think they have to go for the IG and the championship. It's the Den, the Quirky Mirth, and the FinSock Exchange for the next 3. With the Den, I think that's where you could see actually a player get taken like a Video Drew, because you have potential to get 2. You have 2 picks at the end of the round where Star Wars is going to be still there. There's going to be plenty of Star Wars players for her to nab at that point. The reason why I might see a Dungeon or Suspects pick a Star Wars player is then they don't have. It's the snake thing. It's going to come back to them. That means that a lot of people get a pick twice.
Yeah.
So I would see the Den doing that. Den is the one place I would think that you might see somebody not be Star Wars or IG level.
Yeah.
Quirky Mercs. If Mara falls that far, I think he drafts her back potentially.
Mm-hmm. I don't think she will, but I do agree. I think if she does somehow, that's what's going to happen.
I think he goes with Demilana if he falls. I think Demilana, or maybe that's where Laura Kelly goes. I know that's exactly what you don't want to have happen because you want to see her go to a more heel show or heel team, but maybe at that point. And finally, the FinSock Exchange. I don't know what the fuck is going to go through FinSock Exchange's mind. I don't know what they're doing. Kaiser could Gucci could do anything and not surprise me at this point. The good news is no one can refuse him. And he can't really be refused to be drafted at that point. So I would think he'd probably want to go. Maybe that's where he gets a Star Wars player back. He has JT, he has Barbarian, he has Roka. Then yes, Gucci does pick 5. Exactly. Scott Ring in there. Good to see you, Scott. Riley to the Den. Then that could happen.
Riley, I am so unsure about where he's going. I think he's one of those players, I think he'd be a good fit almost everywhere. He's good at being kind of snarky and heel-like, so he could do well there. He's, in real life, the sweetest guy ever. He could be amazing in a face faction, things like that. He's a solid player. I feel like he's great in teams. I think he will do well anywhere he is. Now, where I want to see him, maybe the usual suspects. I think it might be a cool fit for him. That'd be one place. I don't see him going back to the exchange. Maybe the Den. I could see the Den, but he is one I'm very curious to see where he ends up going.
Yeah, I wouldn't be super shocked, to be honest with you, if the exchange did pick up Riley as well. I do think there's potential that Riley could go back to the exchange that way. Because it was only Bateman that he had a problem with. Riley didn't have a problem with Roka. Riley didn't have a problem with Gucci at that point. Mariano's a good point. Roka is running that faction. I think the Barbarian is helping a lot, but I actually agree with that too. I think Laura is someone that he does want. Roka has always been a big fan of Laura. So I would not be surprised to see Laura go to the exchange as well.
Yeah, they do a Star Wars show together, I believe. Is that correct? So like they have a good relationship. That would make sense to me.
That is true. That is very true as well. So I guess that's what we will do. If anybody has any Streamlab questions, nothing there, possibly. Okay, nothing in there. Last thoughts we have on that. We do have a couple more questions. Looks like in the chat. What's our number one bold prediction surprise for the draft? Our bold surprise for the draft. I don't know how bold it is, but I see, like, as far as rookies go, someone like a Thomas Harper is taken in the first round over some of the Star Wars other competitors. I
could totally see that after talking with him like that. I think he sold himself very well as a possible player. Like even though like Dragon Con's like tape and stuff like that isn't as easily found, I find his reputation speaks volumes. So I could totally see him being either the first or second Star Wars player to be drafted. Like it would not surprise me. That
would be my main big one at that point.
I guess mine would be that I don't know who would be the one to do it, but kind of like what happened last year, not just the Star Wars, but like somebody that would maybe auditioned gets drafted very early because a player or a manager just feels really passionate that they want them in their group. I don't know how often that happened, but like we saw crazier things last draft. So
absolutely. And of course, it's true. You can see the real rejects get split up this year instead of the wild berries.
No.
So maybe that's what Shannon's going to do.
It'll be Shannon again.
Doubling down. I broke up the fucking wild berries.
He's going to be like the team destroyer. Heartbreaker.
It'll be interesting to see if that happens. One last question. It looks two last questions. Brian Nussbaum, what faction would I want Ed Harris in if he competed? If Ed Harris was in, he would be on any faction he wants because he's that kind of badass. But in all honesty, I could totally see him with the suspects. I think that he would get along well with McQueenie very well. I think I'd done those two together in Irwin.
I agree.
All of that. So that's where I'll put him. And could we ever see Kevin Smith entering IG? I think that could play the quiz decision to help him study deep.
Honestly, I was actually, when I heard he was coming, I was actually surprised he wasn't IG. I mean, like that's like I watched, Fat Man on Batman and things like that, and all those shit, Fat Man Beyond. And those are shit like I hear him talk about. Hear him talk about IG stuff more than I hear him talk about anything else. Like so the mediums I watch, like I don't, and so I was actually surprised he was in singles and not IG. So it wouldn't surprise me if he dabbled in IG if he's that motivated to play.
He showed his recall was better than I thought it was going to be during his matches. He actually had some good recall and everything else. IG is definitely a deeper cut type of situation, but maybe he would. I wouldn't be surprised if he wanted to give it a shot. We'll have to see. He
writes this stuff, so it's like it's not just a hobby; it's part of his career. So focusing on IG. So I think he's good to like if it's tournament season, he's motivated to play. Put him in an IG tournament or something. Like just give him an opportunity to at least try it.
And finally, and 7, I went at Harrison Corruption because I wanted to win right. And yeah, you know what? I'm going to actually change my answer, but I'm not going to put him on Corruption. I'm putting him on the Dungeon because the Dungeon is going to win this year. So we're going to have Ed Harris and Ben Bateman.
The Dungeon want Ed Harris, though?
Yes, because they want – you're telling me Ben Bateman doesn't want to have Brigadier General Francis X. Hummel on his team? You're telling me Harris is going to look down at John
Is
Roca
he
and say,
good at
John Roca, you're down there. We're up here. You want to watch goddamn Schmodown match.
He wants to win stuff. So is he good at trivia?
I think at Harris he'll intimidate him. The icy blue eyes will intimidate anybody he plays him, so he'll win that way.
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up. That thing, we did have a great match. We had a great free agency special yesterday. Great interview with the Fan League Forward. Thank you again, Peggy, if you're still in the chat. I really appreciate you coming on. That's a great team. It was great for us. We had a great time. Kelsey, you want to say where folks can find you?
Yeah. Well, also, first of all, we have something we want to plug for tomorrow. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I was going to get there.
Okay. Well, I'll plug myself. I'll plug where you can find me.
Looking for ratings for our Patreon. That's our highest level Patreon level at that point.
Words are hard. Okay, you can find me at KelseyKins90 on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me at Miss Quinkins on Instagram. That's my cosplay page. Twitch, YouTube. I'm going to try to make an effort to be on it a little bit more. Do some streaming. Maybe do a watch along to a Thor movie so you can all watch me like fangirl in it. You know, there's options. So
fangirl, that's what we're
fangirl. Okay, so people who were in the Patreon chat when we were watching that, my reaction when Ben and Dan got drafted to the dungeon, that's my reaction every time Loki comes on screen. So if you enjoyed that, feel free to join my Twitch streams.
All right. Well, we will pitch some more shows. We got obviously with the draft coming up. I love the draft. I do love the idea of the draft. We definitely have had our run of rookie specials. We love talking to all these rookies. But I'm not going to lie. It'll be nice to be able to have a week where we're not having 4 or 5 shows at a time. It is a little much at times. But we do love all the people coming out. We thank them coming out. We do have a couple specials coming up. One I will pitch tomorrow. We're actually having, for anyone, I don't know if anyone's in the chat now at this point, an international friendly call to action live rookie special tomorrow morning at 4 a.m. Pacific, 7 a.m. Eastern. Myself I'm going to get my lazy ass up at that point with Billy Belford, and we're bringing on some of the European draft eligible people, Kat and Sunny from Denmark, and Kim Taylor Foster, who is based out of the UK. That is going to be tomorrow morning early. So if you're up at 7 in the morning, you can grab a cup of coffee and have breakfast while you watch us and ask any questions there. That should be a lot of fun at this point. And you're going to talk about that? Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. I'm going to talk about other stuff first. On Tuesday, we will have, on Monday, we have the our call to action Patreon Q&A. So you join the Patreon, we're going to have an hour-long special Q&A with a bunch of us on screen. You can talk to us, ask us anything you want, and we'll answer it. Kelsey and I really have no shame. We'll answer pretty much anything.
I have no filter.
No filter at all, so it's definitely worth the Patreon level there. On Tuesday, we're actually going to we don't have a thumbnail yet for this one, but we're going to have the Star Wars News Net people on. At least 2 of them. I haven't gotten confirmation from a third one. John Hoy and Lacey Gilliran are going to be on. That's going to be a fun one as well. And then, of course, our normal stuff. We have Chill to Action tomorrow night. I almost forgot that. In talking about the rookies, we actually have already about Chill to Action tomorrow night. Bring on the woman of the hour, Marisol McKee. Will talk all about what went down in the draft yesterday and what went down and how she wound up back on the corruption faction.
So many questions.
And speaking of that, we also have rescheduled our Chilled Action. We're going to go back to back. I know Danny and I have said we're going to go bi-weekly with Chilled Action, but we are going to go back to back because we have Marisol this week, and next week we can get the other side of that. We're going to reschedule to have Shannon Barney come back on Chilled Action for her second appearance, but her first real appearance, to be honest with you. She appeared when Mike Kalinowski. She appeared with Mike Kalinowski, but it was before she was really a part of the league. She just kind of dipped her toes in and made some stage appearances. But now that she's been a rookie manager and has been we're going to get a deep dive with Shannon. That should be a lot of fun.
So many questions. It's so good.
So many questions, so many times. And I'm most likely, I'll say one more thing about the show, about the channel, rather. We have probably going to do, most likely going to do the same thing we did for the draft, for the Patreon, for the free agency special. We're going to do the same thing for the draft. We'll have another watch along. We're going to see everything go down and talk about it together. And also, we do have 2 new shows in development. I don't know if I'm allowed to announce them or not.
Maybe not announce them, but just guys, 2 new shows are coming, and
I'll say, you know what? I was just going to say the main person behind one of the shows is going to be Megs, with I think some strong help from Danny. And there will also be another show with a main host of Billy Belford. And I will be assisting him with that one. So those are ones where we'll be able to talk more about maybe the Patreon soon, because they're going to be coming up sooner than we think, I think. So otherwise than that, as far as myself personally, at Paul_Denuzio on Twitter. Oh, yeah, is there a Schmo Base this week? I think she's trying to get one together. I don't know if she's signed the dotted line of all of them, so I can't really announce it. I know she's always working diligently to get one. She's got a good one planned if we can get these contestants on. If it works this week, it'll be awesome.
it'll be an awesome one. So
if not,
hopefully.
Next week, and we'll do it. And yes, Dean, as we all turn, we'll come back. Danny has said she will do that as well, so we'll go for that. It's definitely going to happen at some point. For me, at Paul_Denuzio on Twitter. Already told you about all my call to action stuff. You can find me on Action Industries on home to Ben Bateman and Andrew Guy. I produce all their shows on the weekend, as well as we do WandaVision reviews now on Fridays as well. And finally, PLD Projects, Scoundrels of the Force. That's my new show I debuted today with Bador and with Maddie Gunner. Is Kelsey a Scoundrel of the Force? I'm quite sure Kelsey will be making appearances at some point or other. Kelsey, Danny will all make appearances. It's going to be some kind of rotating thing I have. Kelsey loves Star Wars, so I know she'll talk Star Wars with me. I just have to nudge her to get her alarm clock set so she can get up early enough to hang out with me. But she'll do it, or she'll just stay up late.
I take bribes, so
yeah, absolutely. So, other than that, that's it. Great to have you guys on. I appreciate it. We all appreciate you. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, comment, all that stuff. Hope you enjoyed us, and we will see you next time. We salute you guys, and I'm gonna put this up because I don't know who the one is. There it is. Hi.